Georgetown Poker Club presents GPC live streaming from Georgetown, Texas. And now, your commentators, Kyle Thompson and John Montgomery.
Only when it hits you, then you feel hotter when it does. Yeah, right. We need two flows over here. There's another one like we just jet stream both ways. That'd be perfect.
Hey everybody, and welcome into GPC Live. I'm going to be your host, Kyle Thompson, and alongside me is going to be
Paul Stoltenberg, Kyle's partner in crime, or is it the other way around?
We'll figure it out by the end of this thing. Don't, no charges, and keep in mind that the contents herein may be fictitious, so keep an open mind. All right, guys, we're already jumping in the action. The way this works, it's a tag team tournament, and there was two tables, a partner on each table, so they each had their own stack. If they were eliminated, they would just play with the one stack and switch out every time the buzzer goes off. In this switch situation at final table, the stacks are combined if they have two stacks, and now all teams will be switching back and forth. Paul, what are you looking forward to seeing today?
Well, Kyle, I've had the privilege, if we can call it that, of playing with not everyone, but at least one person on most of the teams that are in contention at today's final table. And I think what I can say is a fair statement here is that while I don't think that we will necessarily see perfect optimal play in every situation, I think that you'll find very few people that will be, I guess, run over, so to speak. Most of the players in this field are they're not afraid to put up a game and gamble if necessary. So you're not going to see many doormats at this table. Not a lot of Afghan rugs, Flicati rugs, for those of you who maybe enjoyed the old press your luck with Peter Tamarkin. I think this is going to be a pretty hard-fought battle, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And just a reminder that we are located on Williams Drive in Georgetown, Texas. We'd love you to come up and check us out sometime. We may give away to someone lucky in the chat a membership for a day or a month even. We'll figure it out as we go. John loves when I give his stuff away. Without further ado, we'll take a look at the chip counts. Right there, you can see the teams and how they're doing, how many chips. We have Drew and Alex out with the chip lead. Trent and Phil bringing up the rear. To the flop we go.
Fold. Fold, fold.
Appeared we were going to the flop. Apparently we're still...
Yeah, I think that was maybe a prior hand, maybe John the dealer, if that is the deal. Yes, John the dealer was getting his ducks in a row. All right, we have Drew representing the Drew and Alex team. I assume that's Alejandro. I've played with both of them. He's going ahead and making a button raise with the old 8-6 off. Not exactly sure what this. Let's take a look what the stack sizes here are. I'm a little surprised that Ace King suited is not electing to go for a 3-bet. I looked. He did just call pre-flop, didn't he?
It looks that way. We're looking at the pot. There's 153K in the middle. That's a pretty big size compared to the Ace King's remaining chips. Looks like they only have 23K remaining. Probably gonna get it in here, wouldn't you say?
They've effectively gone all in here. They've only left 3K behind, and I guess that is part of the reward of taking this particular line. You get an aggressive player like Drew go ahead and make a C bet with just backdoor draws, and then you're able to get in this little additional value with your Ace King there with top pair, top kicker.
And you'll see the chip counts reflected have been changed now, tightening up a little bit, and we look forward to seeing how things roll out.
It looks like we're at 7.5K around in terms of the blinds and antes. But at least at this juncture in the tournament, at least as far as the large stacks are concerned, it looks like the top two teams are still in kind of that 200 to 300K range. So at least as far as the large stacks are, plenty of chips to play with. I'd like them to go ahead and put the hopefully they'll put the chip counts again, because I didn't really get a good look at some of the middle and smaller stacks. Okay, well, we're getting a better look at it in this particular hand here.
And we see a real hand sitting over there with Ace-Queen, probably going to be playing this hand out of the small blind, and we do fold to just the blinds. Oh, the button did join, never mind.
Are you sure about that? It looks like we just have the small blind has limped, and we've had a check from the big. That's what I'm seeing.
It appears you're all right, and we have mystery hand. We have the jack violence. I do see only two players with cards.
Yeah, you don't want to make a habit of not showing your whole cards to the camera. We'll allow this one, so.
We still had, what's the name? Martel times 2 in the hand. And,
Wayne, Joe Wayne.
yeah, Joe made the bet.
Got a little bit of delay here in the action in terms of the feed, so if you'll bear with us a moment. Okay, big blind has bet 3K.
No, he folded.
Hello.
We got a guest appearance from John. John, are you going to take this tournament down? Go ahead, while you're here, take an interview. Are y'all going to take this down?
Well, my partners seem to be doing pretty good over there, so hopefully we can combine and stack some chips.
Fantastic, because I bet money on you guys. Just kidding, I didn't.
Well, I mean, I'll just be happy if we knock Drew out, so, you know.
And how long,
No argument here.
how long do you give Team Cupcake and Chaos?
Hey, I've been called into action, so
Convenient timing for John, and he escapes unscathed.
And actually, now I'm getting a better look at some of the shorter stacks here. It looks like the shortest stacks here have nearly 100K, and it's 7.5K around. I mean, again, we're not them saying these guys are healthy necessarily with, 30 of the lines we're talking about, but everyone has enough chips to access not all, but many of the tools. And no one's on a shove stack, or worst case scenario, we're talking a reach shove stack here. So at least, especially for final table juncture, there's, at least at this juncture, plenty of chips for most of the teams to work with.
All right, and one of the hometown favorites is definitely going to be John. John is one of the owners here at Georgetown Poker Club. He and Robert are partners. They've just made the switch between them, probably the most experience of any two partners in there. Robert comes from a casino background. What do you think about that prediction?
Well, Robert certainly has not been hesitant to post some of his activity over at an alternative poker club within the greater Central Texas area, and more often than not, he has been showing some strong finishes in some of those tournaments. So between him and John, hard to say how things are going to play out. Again, there's a lot of volatility and variance in the final table, but they're certainly not a team I would bet against.
And to the flop we go. Nope, it was the cleanup of another hand. Nope. Here we go. Dragging a little bit behind the action, guys. We'll try to keep up as best we can. The cameras run a little bit behind, and it is fed to us through a tablet. We got to give a shout out to Juan. Juan is on the tablet for us. Big shout out to Juan. Thanks for keeping us up.
Shout out to Juan. Thank you. Thank you. We could not do this without you.
And these two players definitely look thrilled to be in this hand right now.
You sure they're not at a traffic light?
So a little funny story here. John and Robert, they weren't sure who they were going to be their partners in different tag team events prior. They haven't always been with each other. But this time, it seems like every pot between the last tournament till now in Cash Game, they've actually had a split pot. And if you can't beat someone, you join them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
No. Everything's got to move over one.
More people thrilled with this hand.
Right. And right now, actually, not to complain, but we're not getting the whole cards right here, so it's hard for us to provide any meaningful insight just yet.
And someone must be tanking out there because I don't know who action is on currently.
Yeah. All we're seeing are. Okay, here we go. That's better. Now we're back in business.
And guys, you assume that every hand someone's going to have ace-king or a pair when you're in a tournament, but take a look. Sometimes these are the hands that get dealt out, and you're sitting there with ace-10, and you're like, it's not that strong of a starting hand, but, sometimes it's the best hand.
I'll play ace-10 suited. Not all situations, but I like ace-10 suited. And the call from the small blind, queen 10 suited. Reasonable. Some people are not enamored with calling from the small blind. They might prefer a fold or a 3-bet, and Esfandiari's talked about this subject. But I think given the stack size, it flops pretty well. I'm okay with this.
We flopped king 8-2, two spades, a backdoor diamond draw for Martel.
And the backdoor straight draw. In fact, the backdoor straight draw for both players. No one's really, got a whole lot of anything here, and this is where you got to play some poker. Pam does have the position. I would say though with the backdoor draws as opposed to just the backdoor draw, Martel's hand might play a little better in this situation. But if Pam fires healthy enough here, she might be able to just take it uncontested, and that is in fact what happens here.
Pam with the C-bet takes it down. This is how you play it, guys. Excellently done. Big shout out to Pam. Pam actually has a tournament in her honor coming up here at Georgetown Poker Club Live.
That's news to me. What's up?
There is a charity event. Pam is having some struggles in her life with cancer, and we are having a charity event for here right at Georgetown Poker Club. You can come in and participate.
I apologize. I was not aware of this. If I may be frank, I was aware that Pam had some issues some health issues, but this is literally the first I've heard of it. So I'm very sorry to hear that, and we all certainly wish Pam a speedy recovery. And we all love Pam a lot.
Well, there is a $3K guaranteed tournament in her honor being held here at Georgetown Poker Club. It has been posted on the Facebook page. Make sure you go and like and subscribe to that Facebook page.
Yes, please do that. Back to the action. Okay, this time Andrew certainly has a real hand here with the ace-king suited. Oh, and we have another ace-king suited. This could get really interesting really quick. But he goes for the conservative route and just calls.
I like the Trent Phil hand. I'm really feeling that 10-9 in this spot. That feels like the favorite to me. Cupcake and Chaos, we're definitely going to be rooting for them to find the win here. We want to see them on this table longer, so find it.
And everybody whiffs. Fours are in the lead for now.
Find the shove, Cupcake. Find the shove.
I can't say I love just an open shove given the pot size here, but this is, again, you haven't hit your set. If you're mining for the set, you don't have it. That said, this is not a bad flop for your pocket fours.
Pretty safe board. I mean, what else can you ask for if it's not going to have a 4, right?
Right. I mean, this is not about, again, you've got, you're above the 2 cards. You do have the backdoor straight draw. It's now just a question of, do I believe the guy? Also, what's the road going forward? You do have to think. However, what I will say here is Drew Alex's team, they have not fired much here. In fact, they've just fired the same bet they did pre-flop. Again, it's a pretty dry board, but still, small bet for pretty much any situation.
And just a call, no shove here from the 2 4s. They're going to decide to play it safe and be careful here. I mean, one dynamic you're not really thinking of here.
Boom! Boom!
One dynamic to take into account here, guys, is that you do have to explain to your partner what you did if you do something that is dumb.
That is true, but you might get rewarded here. I mean, barring obviously a 5 on the river, because boom, you've just turned your set of 4s.
And it's been checked over to Cupcake now. We'll see what he does. 51K in the middle, 177K behind in the stack.
10,500.
He elects for a bet.
And again, I guess this looks like Brian to me and the Cupcake team. Certainly, my experience with him, he's not someone who will run.
What a great card to get paid here.
Possibly, yes. He's not someone who's going to run you over, but again, he's not someone who generally is going to get run over either.
A solid player, Brian is, yes. Keeps it pretty snug. This is the dream scenario here for him right now. He's thinking about how do I make sure I get all of my chips doubled right now.
Probably. I mean, given the player that he's up against, I mean, is there an outside chance that we're up against ace 5, 6 5, pocket kings, pocket? I mean, it's possible, but you gotta like where you are given this player.
And elects for just the call.
If you can find a raise, obviously that's preferred. And I think given the size of the raise, I don't know if he pays off a shove, but I think you're going to get some. You probably would get some value here, but I don't hate the call.
Definitely plays it careful. Doesn't want to tell his partner, hey, took a bad beat, man. So as we get here, let's get ready to get a quiz question ready for the audience because we definitely need to get the chat involved, and I like giving away John stuff.
Oh, yeah, me too. That's the best part of all of this.
And I think we got a quick chip count coming soon, hopefully, so we can take a new look at it. I know we have a partner switch coming up pretty soon because, as I referenced before, John had just announced he was switching. Hopefully we got that switch coming up soon for you guys.
For sure. Okay, let's see what we got going on here.
Definitely King 7 the favorite.
Oh, no. For those of you who don't know, yes, King 7 is, at least theoretically, this Joker's favorite. And by this Joker, I mean my partner in crime, Kyle Thompson. God knows why. He needs psychiatric help. King 7 here did the right thing and got out of the way.
I'm glad I don't know anyone named Bob John.
Yeah, me neither.
Interesting initials as well.
Wow, you just went there. Wow.
And you should go there to Georgetown Poker Club. Come and see us. Good segues are allowed.
Yeah, okay. That's something we both agree on. We're both getting on board with that.
Another round of cards getting dealt out. We look forward to seeing what this hand has. We got a quick fold from Cupcake. And Cupcake has been the nickname given to Brian here. That's why I'm going to guess that Preston is then the chaos on the team.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anyone's the chaos, it's... In fact, Preston's the chaos in just about any situation he's involved in.
And we see a lot of thunder and lightning kind of partners on here. There's not two players in the same mold unless you get to like Bob and John. But when you look over here and you've got Pam and Hector,
sure,
you've got another thunder and lightning.
That's
situation.
Absolutely. And Bob and John actually, there are some differences in their games, but they're a little bit more moderate, subtle. They're not apples to apples. Or really apples to oranges. It's sort of in the middle. They're I guess once they don't. What's the phrase I'm looking for? It's they're not identical, but they rhyme. You know the expression. It's kind of like that.
No one really getting jiggy with it yet, as you would say. It's good to make Will Smith references these days.
For sure.
But as you see, everyone's playing it pretty careful. It seems like no one wants to have to tell their partner what happened.
Now, this is an interesting hand for the Trent Phil team. I think they raised pre-flop with 8-7 spades, hit bottom pair with the backdoors. They are continuation, but their stack's a little bit shallow. Incidentally, the A6 stack also is a little shallow. This is an important hand for both teams. I'm really curious to see what happens here. They decided to just call with top pair, questionable kicker, and the backdoor flush and backdoor straight draw. And now we have backdoor straight draws are materializing for both teams on this hand. This should be interesting.
And a quick side note while we're here, Trent and Phil, they actually met on a cruise. They didn't know each other, and they just said, hey, did you hear about that tournament at Georgetown Poker Club? That is the place to be. Let's go play that tag team together. Just funny where you meet partners at.
I'm a little hesitant to get on the cruise ship right now, but it's true. You go on a cruise ship, you meet a lot of people. That is one benefit of taking a voyage on the high seas.
Lifelong pals now, maybe.
Anyway, back to this now. This really is if I'm reading the numbers correct, this really is a tournament decision for Joe Gawain.
And what an interesting turn. Both players pick up a straight draw. We do have the A6 get away.
We do, yes, and they were able to take it down without the best hand there, with the 8-7 of spades. It would have been interesting to have seen how the other team would have reacted had they went ahead and bet the entire stack rather than 55% of it, if I'm reading the numbers correctly.
And we'll be getting on to the next hand here. As you saw the updated chip counts, you see Bob and John still in first place, but Cupcake and Chaos have now moved up into the second position, dropping Pam and Hector down to the third.
I gotta tell you, I like all the people on all these top teams, at least the chip leading teams right now. Hard to really root for or root against hard to root against any of them. I like them all. I really do. Even though I have money on John, as I explained earlier. Just kidding.
And to be honest with the audience, every show we like to promo Georgetown Poker Club and highlight why you should come here. Like, why would I drive to Georgetown? There's a lot of poker clubs in North Austin and Round Rock, and it depends on where you're located. But I'll tell you this, it will sell itself. Come play, come see the action up here, and you'll know why you should choose Georgetown Poker Club.
Yeah. I don't think we're having any action here. Yeah, this hand pretty much plays it. Attack with Queen Jack suited from the small blind, pretty standard. 8-2 soft suit. Why get yourself in trouble? Let's move on.
Definitely part of the tournament game is deciding when to apply pressure and when not. And in this format, once again, you do have to defend to your partner that you just made a play with 8 deuce.
Indeed. Would have been interesting to see if he had gone. What would have happened if he gone for the 3-bet with the old 8 deuce off.
I'm willing to bet that we're going to see some play develop as we move on. I definitely know that out of seat 1 or 2, I believe it is, we do have an aggressive tandem, so hopefully we'll get to see some plays that actually maybe someone kind of got one through.
Okay, to this hand now.
Could be interesting. We've got Ace-Jack and Ace-10 present.
But I'm curious. But let's see what Bob and John just did with. Okay, they are going ahead and trying to use position with the King 3 suited.
Out of the cutoff.
Yep. And I like the call here with the 8-7 of hearts. 8-7 of hearts. Apologize from the Drew and Alex team.
Could have been a 3-bet. Definitely okay with the flat. Definitely want to take as many hands in position as you can in poker. See if we do find a 3-bet this hand. We did not. And the ace-jack that started ahead remains ahead with the jack-high flop.
Yeah, so far.
Backdoor spades potentially for
Yep.
Joe and is that guy Gawan?
Yeah, a lot of backdoor draws here, except for the made hand, the ace-jack. Gawain's got the backdoor Broadway draw. Bob, John, and the Drex teams have the backdoor hard draws.
And opting for a 16.5K bet. Everyone will shoo away.
Good fight, good night.
And with that pot, Cupcake and Chaos has moved into the chip lead.
And right now, just looking at chip stacks, I think the blinds nannies, if they didn't just go up, they went up recently. So we're now 2-4-4, so 10K around. So looking at the chip stacks again at this juncture, no one is under major pressure, with one big exception: the team that you just saw that only has 3% of the total chips in play. I think we're looking at 44K. Obviously, you don't want to do anything too kamikaze, but they're going to need to make a move soon.
And we are getting the partner switches going right now. We've got a whole new group of faces going to come on. Well, it looked like some of the teams switched. Is that what it looked like there?
That's what I'm seeing.
We have John and seat 2.
I don't know why Cupcake hasn't switched yet, but if I'm seeing things right.
We now get to see Hector there in the 9 seat, and Hector offered a bribe to brag on his poker play, Paul, but I wouldn't go for it. I told him I'm too expensive.
Yeah, he almost got me to do so, but I said, nah, it's okay.
There is 3K up top in this prize pool. Second place is just over 2K, so there is 3 teams going home with money, and we are down to 7 teams.
Yep. And then, again, nothing, no life-changing money here or anything, but serious material money to play for. So again, we should continue to have a really good battle.
And we had a limp under the gun from Jack 9 offsuit. Interesting play. It comes around to the blind, so ended up working, and Martel flops top pair.
Check.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the Jack 9 limp on this particular stack, but again, we did just change partners, so maybe that's going into the thought process here. Maybe they feel like they can get it through. Okay, and we've just got the devil's hand on the turn with trip 6s.
The hand has improved. I have a feeling we're going to go bet, fold here, and go ahead and get ready for the next hand.
Well, I'm trying to see who the opponents are. Yeah, that's probably how this is going to play out. I don't think any of these guys are going to really get out of line.
If anyone, it might be this player right here, though. And it was.
Check.
Looks like a third club has materialized.
Yes, it has.
Oh.
But not going to represent it there, even with the Queen of Clubs.
I'm wondering, again, this player, this team, maybe the game plan was they were thinking, maybe my hand genuinely is good right here. I mean, again, oftentimes a lot of these situations you're, floating, trying to take away with a scary card, but they didn't really, if that was the line, they didn't really follow through on it. Again, this is a team that's really short on chips. So again, you just have to ask the question. If this is a team that has 40K in chips, and I think it is, I don't know, maybe you're just better off waiting for a better spot before you commit any of your money, because this particular team, they're getting really short.
Okay, so now we've got, like I referenced before, Hector sitting on the table. What do you expect to see out of Hector? What do you think of that player?
Well, the thing with Hector is, again, he's always a lot of fun to have at the table. I think, though, in a tournament, you might see a slightly different animal than you would Hector. And the thing about it is, even in the cash games, he's got different gears. I mean, yeah, there'll be some times where he's just a maniac all over the map. But then there are times where he will snug up a little bit. And again, once you establish that kamikaze reputation, that certainly increases your odds to get paid when you have the goods.
For some reason, Brian folds the King 7, inexplicably, but we did have a raise under the gun with 2 queens.
Okay, we got a real hand from the Pam Hector team. From Hector nonetheless.
And John's going to take a flop here with 2 10s as well.
Again, even though it was Hector, it was under the gun. The other thing I was going to say about Hector is this is a tournament. It's not a cash game. You might see a slightly different Hector
And oh no, the flop that no one wants to see when they have 2 queens or 2 kings. The ace comes right out.
15,000.
Again, I think Hector has other gears. I don't think they're going to be losing too many chips here. That said, I will say it's a more difficult situation to have just the 1 ace than say if there's an ace and a king, that kind of thing.
We'll see if he tries to represent ace-king. Looks like he went away. Looks like 2 10s show and lay down, and we're going to be off to the next hand.
Yeah, it looks like the Trentville team got some respect on that. Certainly something to be said for just, I guess, checking in position. You could source, you have the backdoor diamonds, ace, queen kicker, but lead out, end matters there. Maybe find out where you are. Certainly nothing wrong with that.
And a new player sitting in seat 2 that made the switch right around the same time John and Bob switched. Haven't had much experience with him myself. We look forward to seeing what he might provide for this action.
Wait, no, I apologize. Who are you speaking about now?
Seat 2.
Seat 2. And which team is this?
I will have to see the name pop back up.
Okay. But again, I will reiterate, I think the team that's on 36K right now, I think they're in the cutoff now. I would, again, don't force anything, but if they can, they should try to get the money in this round.
2K, 4K with 32K, you say?
It's 2K, 4K right now, so 10K.
36K.
Yeah, they got about not quite 4 rounds of
Under
blinds and
10
nannies.
big blinds.
They got not quite 4
It's
rounds
time.
of blinds and nannies. Yeah.
It is time.
You can wait for better than 10 to that's okay. But get the money
This
in
round.
this round if you can. Yes.
Absolutely. And we've got a pair of 8s over here and a Jack 10. We've raised a 10K from the 2 8s and a call.
And notice Hector folded 9-5 off. He might at least call with a hand like that. Maybe in a cash game, but he's not going to do it here.
And speaking of big blinds,
Yeah, he can't
a little
rebuy
deeper here.
he can't rebuy for $1,000. He can't do that here. Yeah.
We like it when we get 2 stacks that are this deep with big blinds in a pot in a tournament, because that's when the good interesting happen.
Well, the 122 isn't that deep, but certainly the 8s is still a healthy stack. So good continuation bet with the 8s. Take it down right there without much of a fight.
As you can see, the percentages also show of how many chips they have in play. So you right now, Cupcake and Chaos hogging up 23% of the chips, almost a fourth of the chips in play.
But again, there's still a lot in this. Really, just about any of the 6, pretty much 6 of the 7 teams right now are still very much in this, and anything can happen. But again, I'll say again, the 36.5K team needs to, and this might be the spot to do it. Let's see. They decide to fold. It might, as fate would have it, it might not be a bad idea. Let's see what Ace 10. Okay, Ace 10 raised. We hadn't seen that yet. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I wouldn't get the money with Ace 8 there either, probably.
Shout out to Miguel with the 9-4. That's his hand. It's no fun if the people's favorite hands are ace-ace.
For sure. It's not my favorite. Yeah, I think there are people who know me who know what my favorite hand is. It's not 9-4. It's better than that. It's certainly better than Kyle's King 7. But yeah, it's not pocket aces.
Well, we'd like to hear it in case we're on a table with you sometime and you say I've got my favorite hand. So go ahead and spill.
Well, I'm
beans.
never gonna say it during the hand. But for those of you who don't know me well, I'll go ahead and say it. I tend to do pretty darn well with 5-3 suited.
Remember that this man claimed that it was better than the all-powerful King 7.
Because it is.
And the way we go, looks like we don't have anything interesting this hand. What maybe a blind versus blind situation, button versus blinds. What are you expecting to see here when the holdings are this light?
Okay, yeah. I mean, again, it all depends on what's going to come out on the flop. But certainly, if the hands end up missing, then oftentimes it becomes an issue of sometimes we see the position and people willing to use the position. Sometimes that can buy these pots uncontested.
And once again, another fold out of that 36.5K stack. So still searching for the hand to shove with here.
I don't think this was the spot. I mean, what did they have? I think it was like 10-8 off at best. Sorry, we're getting a lot of the data information on the screen, so we may not be able to see and comment on every little nuance here. But yeah, based on what I saw, I just immediately thought, yeah, this isn't quite the spot. But they need to do something quick if they can.
They are quickly running out of time. The big blind is hunting them down currently.
Mm-hmm. I like the shirt here. I didn't see it's a dilly for the Steelers. I like that. I support that.
And what a great character. He's been a long-time player at Georgetown Poker Club. I'd like to give him a shout-out for playing these tournaments for years now here at Georgetown.
Absolutely.
Interesting story about how he and his partner met. Actually, he at one point was trapped in a large tower, and his partner came along, and there was no one that could get up there, so he had to lower his beard.
Used to be a group here around here called the Austin Facial Hair Club. I don't know if they exist anymore. You might have seen them on Whisker Wars on IFC. Anyway, we have someone with a real hand here.
All right, guys, we've just opened up the chat in the YouTube section, so go ahead, chat away, guys. We like to see all the people that are in here. Nice to see you, Joni, Taylor. Thanks for stopping by.
Side note, Martel wasn't able to get too much action with those kings. I think it just went pretty much uncontested, took the blinds nannies. But hey, every bit helps here, and people have certainly done worse with pocket kings.
Guys, we're interested to hear if or see if y'all can pick up the table audio. Someone in the chat, give us a 1 if you can hear the audio, the table talk, a 2 if you're having problems hearing it.
Okay, and the Joe Gawain team, the short stack at the table, they are now in the big blind. They just really weren't able to find a spot to commit the case money.
I am getting it in with King 6 of spades here. I'm taking this shot. I don't know how many higher cards I'm going to get. We've got a suited holding with a high card. We're going to run into the ace queen here and risk our tournament life, but we got the small blind to post next hand.
I'd be doing some number crunching, but I'm certainly at this juncture strongly considering all 3 options, unless someone 3-bets.
I just see that the raise is going to potentially come out of the hijack here, which it did, 12K. So that's a spot that you often expect in a tournament someone to raise out of.
Someone has 3-bet with, and it's soon enough it's Drew Alex. They are the kind of team that would do this with 10-4 off. They're not going to do it very often, but it's within their range. I don't know if this is in the range of most of the other teams.
And that is Seat 2, the team I had referenced before that I said we might see the more aggressive and creative plays out of. So,
and I played with Alex a little bit last night. Again, neither Drew nor his name's Alejandro, not Alex. Neither one of these guys is afraid to run without the ball, so to speak. But given between the two of them, Alex is even more likely to run without the ball, and that's what he's doing here.
And the King 6 did elect to stay out of the way for this one.
Which is the right play, facing the 3-bet. And look at Hector. He says, I know what you're up to. Eat some of this.
We might have to start bragging on this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we may have to. Good play. Again, ace queen off, quality starting hand. But a 4-bet there, not automatic. Good read, good play by Hector.
And keeps their stack up there with the other big dogs, 244K now, just barely trailing behind Bob John and Cupcake and Chaos. All right, we've got that time. Let's give away something, Paul. Let's give away a daily membership and 1 free hour here at Georgetown Poker Club. Start thinking of a trivia question, poker related. I'll give you a couple minutes.
I have to come up with a trivia question, really?
That's right.
I thought that was your job.
Well, then I'll shut up and start brainstorming, and you get on.
Oh no, I'll brainstorm too. I'll try to pull my weight here. No promises though.
Once again, thanks for tuning in, chat here on YouTube. We're glad to have y'all.
Man, the Joe Gawain team, they just aren't getting much to work with here.
And we've got Bob and John in the hijack with 2 8s, and then Cupcake and Chaos right behind with the ace 10. Maybe some fireworks potentially going off in Georgetown. Is that legal in the city limits?
Not usually. I don't know if we'll see fireworks here per se, and I say that because both these teams are pretty deep. I think we're more likely to just see a flat here if they elect to play the hand. Again, why get yourself in trouble?
Referencing back how we saw some players switch and some others not, maybe there's a bit of strategy here of deciding when you're going to do your line change.
Yeah, again, I'm not exactly sure with the entire logistics of these. I thought it was a case where it was just, there's a key time and boom, you got to switch. there may be a little bit more leeway when it comes to that. I'm not exactly that familiar with the mechanics here.
And Hector steals the raise pre with the queen 10 of diamonds, and everyone else behind elects to just call with their holdings.
Wait a sec. Did he 3-bet? You sure about that? I saw Bob and John raise, and I thought it was call. I could be wrong on that.
It looked like the raise was coming out of theirs. Maybe it was the
initial raise I saw. What I'm seeing was from the eights, and then everyone called. That's what I saw.
So we saw a limp from Hector first.
I could be wrong. I don't hold me to that. At any rate,
it flashed it on screen there. We missed it, but it doesn't matter. The 2-8s take down with the overpair, and we move on.
For sure. I mean, they clearly had the best of it in that spot.
And not a major loss in chips from anyone on the table this hand.
Yeah, again, we're okay. Well, hold on a sec. We're now at 4-8. There wasn't even a 3-6-6. Unless I'm missing something, that's a big jump, and that's going to really put pressure on anyone that doesn't have the 200K or so right now.
Send out the line change. Send the medic. Stop the bleeding.
Mm-hmm. No progress on that trivia question yet, Kyle. Sorry.
Well, think of a famous poker player, and find a trivia question about it. Maybe someone will know. It could be something popular.
Okay. No, I've got something. Something I was talking about earlier. Okay, I think I got something we might be able to go with. But let's focus on this hand first. Ace-9 spades folded from the hijack. That's a little bit. Oh no, sorry. Bad videos here. Never mind.
So far we have calls. Looks like 8K is the big blind, and we have
min bet from the Bob John team with Queen Jack of Spades.
Raised to 16K. Yes, that is the minimum raise. Sitting with the big stack here.
And sure enough, Ace-9 of Spades doesn't fold. Quite the contrary. We had bad video on that. They have decided to 3-bet here to 38K.
I like that play.
I do too. The only question is, it's more just a bet sizing issue, but I like the 3-bet, especially given the Bob John team. They don't necessarily need a super premium hand to go ahead and enter the pot, and so I like asking. I like Drew. Actually, it's not Drew. It's Alex right now. I like Alex asking the question, and now we have a bit of a stare down, so this should be fine.
8 high board, neither player improves. Some backdoors for Bob and John. Maybe a gut shot now for Drew Alex, actually.
Drew Alex has an interesting decision here. Now things are going to become pretty rebased. He wants to fire, and I think he'd love to fire and take it down right here. He really would. The question is, where is John in this?
Well, first he has to face a bet.
He has made not a big bet at all, given the size of the pot. However, given that the blinds and antes have gotten so high, any kind of bet now is pretty threatening. And there really is no one right now that is super healthy. Again, if I had like 400 or 500K, I'd be feeling pretty good. But on pretty much any of these stacks, granted, if I have 280, I'm feeling a lot better than I am at 90 or 140, let alone the 24.5. But even at 280, not feeling all that comfortable, I got to be honest.
How about that trivia question, guys, for the chat? Everyone in the chat, get ready. Here it comes.
Okay. Trivia question. Not a great trivia question, but it's my first go, so bear with me on this. What is Jennifer Tilley's last name on her birth certificate?
My, mind in the gutter. That's the poker player you went to out of all the famous poker players.
Only because, nothing against Jennifer Tilley, love her in the Chucky series, and, like seeing her on TV personally, just because we were literally talking about her earlier today.
She's got big talents.
Okay, back to poker.
And we have king high hand, a queen high hand, and an ace high hand.
No one's really attacking this pot. Similar hands in a way. Certainly all other things being equal, I'd prefer something a little bit suited. I would say, even though strictly speaking it's not the strong, the queen 8 suited does among these three play the best.
I like being on the button here. I would have liked to have seen a raise from the button.
The button just called with the king 5. If you can find generally, I'm one sort of for raising or folding. I think this is sort of stack. I think this is a bit of a stack size issue. But I think I'm with, actually, given the size of the stack here now that I'm looking at it, I think I probably, honestly, if you can go with this, it depends on the table dynamic, but I sort of like folding or bombing here given the stack size.
And neither player improves here. Martel times 2 still ahead with the king high. I would have liked the raise as the initial. I believe they called, and then out of the big blind, Hector raised.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. And I can't say this is something. One of the first, not to knock on it, one of the first things I've seen today that I can't really say that I love. I think with the king five suited, certainly at least a raise or fold, or actually just given the fact that it's 20K around. I kind of like if you can find a fold or a shove here. I don't hate the shove. You know, if you run into something bigger, so be it. I know it's risky, but most of the time it's going to work.
And here's another funny dynamic of the hand. They started the hand and switch in the middle of the hand, so now you see your partner raise huge out of the big blind, and now you come back and sit down and you see he's holding queen high on an ace-jack-4 board.
Yep. That said, granted, the Pam is out of position here, and I think it's important to mention that. At the same time, I'm certainly more comfortable in this situation with, I think, 190K than 100K.
She checks, and
who could blame her?
And a great bet out of Martell ×2. This is exactly what should be done here. You come in, you see what your partner just called a raise.
And this is interesting. He's basically
he's
basically betting the whole stack, but not quite. There might be maybe a little metagame going on there.
And if you know that they're thunder and lightning, and you just saw the big raise there, and you get the other partner come in and check it.
Yep.
And the chip lead has tightened up. Look at that. We've got a tie for the top two spots.
Really, especially the top 5 spots. Everyone's pretty close. And even now, I'm looking at the stack that's at 82K. Again, we're at 20K around. Their situation really isn't all that dissimilar to what I was talking about a moment ago when the one team that was on, the 40K, the 30K, when we had at the 244 level. The situation is pretty much like that. I mean, this is a big jump. I think they really should have had a 366 level, but they didn't. And now the stack with 80 to 90K in it is facing a lot of pressure. Let alone we're not even getting into the 20K stack, which I think we're looking at right now.
And we're sitting here. It keeps continuously folding to the position hands, and we get the position playing with the button, which is typically what we see in a tournament.
And King Queen gets the raise through. Interesting though that we saw the King Queen go with basically a 3x raise, 25K, whereas the John I think it was John of the Bob John team, our own illustrious John Montgomery, going for the min raise to 16K. I think a lot of it's just a personal preference. Sometimes you'll have a table and, people will just sort of settle on amount, maybe like 2.2x, 2.3x, what have you. And then at other tables you'll have, you'll have some variability in the bring-in. I think it's more the latter we're seeing at this table so far. Trent Phil here with the only really, I would say, premium hand with the ace queen off. And given their stack, this could be their spot.
We reference back to the Pam and Hector Thunder and Lightning, and I asked them, I said, how did you guys choose with your two varying styles to come together? And they said, well, we went on a trip to Honduras together, and when we returned, we just knew that it was right for us to play poker together on the next tag team tournament. And it's just, like I said, funny how these things come together.
Never been to Honduras. Have known some good people from Honduras, but if I were to go to Honduras and come back, who's to say how it would change my life? Have been to Venezuela, loved it. Really praying the situation down there gets better. This was back in 2001. Chavez was the man in charge at the time, but it was certainly when we went, spring of 2001. It was a period of relative stability, and we had a great time.
Shout out to world peace.
Yeah. Agreed. Amen. One last comment on the ace queen. When I talked about the king 5 suited, granted, bombing from the button 130K to get 20K in blind stands, it's a little risky. You could argue it's a little spewy. But with the ace queen, this one's a little bit more clear cut. They went for the 20K. It worked. It got through. And if people are really giving raises respect, fine. Why wager your whole stack? Me personally, though, 10 big blinds, especially with a big ante out there, I really just like shipping it in there. If you got only 4 rounds of blinds and antes, just go ahead and say, am I making my final stand here or not? And with ace queen there and not a lot of people, you probably should just go ahead and make your final stand.
And 20K starting off in every pot as it is now.
Yep,
488
yep.
with 8K big blind.
Yeah, we are at the 488 level. We've been at it for a little while. I'm not exactly sure how much time we have left in the 488 level. But at any rate, what I would say is, now granted, you did see the team with about 80K. They got a hand with the ace-queen, and the team with the 24K, they just haven't really found that spot. That said, one of these teams is doing what they need to do to just stay above the water. The other one, not so much. I will say, though, they haven't really had anything to work with. There's certainly nothing wrong with maybe doing what they're doing. The question that I have, though, is was there a spot before all of this where maybe they could have gone ahead and pulled the trigger and didn't? But again, right now, in what we've seen, while they've been between 25 and 40K, they've just been card dead.
8.5K stack. Now, is that what I'm seeing on screen?
I'm seeing that too. I thought they were at about 24K, but yeah, that is in fact what I'm seeing.
Got to find one of those hands before. You're effectively doubling now, barely back, definitely under where you were a long time ago.
And here's what happened. I think what happened was they started the hand with 24.5K, but they had to put 8 in the big blind and 8 in the ante, and so that's what. And yes, they absolutely have to.
That's the problem.
But however, as you can see they're not home free yet, but as fate would have it, they have. I agree with them going ahead and putting the money in before the flop. They had to. And lo and behold, they've hit bottom two pair. Not out of the woods yet, but this might be the spot that they've been desperately looking for to stay alive. And they're not back in this tournament, even if they win this. But they'll be hopefully even with the team that's around 80 to 100K. They'll have that one big bullet as opposed to being on a true morphine drip. This is interesting too. Look at what Bob and John have done. They are just trying to isolate. And I think there are different schools of thought on this. Notice that by doing what they're doing, they may allow the Joe Gawain team to stay alive. Because the big threat to the 7-4 is the ace-10, obviously, at this spot. King-queen, not much of a threat at all.
And with the action pre-flop, you've got to be sitting here as Brian wondering, they didn't raise pre-flop. Now we're sitting here facing a rip over the top.
I didn't see exactly what the action was pre-flop with respect to the ace-10, and which hand? And I apologize to viewers. Which hand did raise pre-flop? The king-queen suited or the ace-10 off? One of them did. Oh, the ace-10 has decided to call. Okay, they've said Brian has decided to take a stand.
Oh. A chance for king queen on the back door.
Yep, we got five outs here with the king queen. Can the 7-4 hold? Oh my God! Wow,
it comes
brutal.
And some of us are privy to looking through the window here in the studio and seeing that stack is still on the table. I did take a peek while we awaited the river, and I said, "Oh my, it must be about to be coming."
My gaze has been laser fixed on the computer screen in front of me. I'm trying not to look at the action out there, which is ahead of us, for that reason. But yeah, wow, what a break for Bob and John. Ouch.
I couldn't stand the suspense. I had to know right away. I couldn't wait.
You're that guy who just goes to the last page in the 1,000-page novel. You're that guy, huh?
Cliff's Notes also.
Oh no, I like reading the Cliff's Notes too, but it explicitly says in them they are a supplement to the original Dickens or Shakespeare text.
Agreed. I'm missing out on a little bit of the meat, but just the same way I prefer my poker programs edited down to the entertaining hands. Sometimes you miss out on some of the stuff we're getting to see here, but does provide the quicker and more entertaining scenarios. Bear with us here as we wait to find the next one. We just had one. We had a stack double up to over 500K with the runner suck out. So
let's see. Okay, we do have 6 teams left, and again, there was a lot going on in the hand, so apologize for missing any notable points. So Cupcake and Chaos, they did stay alive, but yeah, so Bob and John didn't knock them out, but they certainly doubled through. They are crippled. They are now basically where the
3 big blinds.
Yeah, they're where the 7-4 Diamonds team was just a moment or two ago. Side note, actually, there's a player here whose 7-4 is his hand. It's because it's his birth year, and I thought to myself that it was going to come through, but unfortunately it did not. What do you think? Should I give a plug for Mr. 7-4's business? What do you think?
Go for it.
All right,
Absolutely.
yes. 7-4, it is the hand of Chris Marino, I believe that is his last name, and he runs, and we commonly refer to him as Simmer Down, good American home cooking food. Just head west on Williams Drive, a couple of miles past Georgetown Poker Club on your way to Sun City, but not too far. You will find it on the right. They are delicious.
And while he was giving that plug, we did get the raise through from Team Cupcake and Chaos.
Okay, I wasn't even paying attention to the action. I'm a little surprised, though, just given their stack, that no one looked them up, because whoever it was, they would have been getting a pretty darn good price.
That is the toughest spots often in the tournament are deciding when to call all-ins, what your calling range truly is in these spots.
But again, the math there would have been really, really... I didn't see exactly what it was. But again, I mean, I know that the blinds and antes are putting real pressure on just about everybody. However, you know, if you're getting 5-1 on your money, sometimes you just got to put the chips, plug your nose and put the chips in.
I'm calling 3 big blinds blind. Mm-hmm. I have the ante in as well. Mm-hmm. So, like you referenced, the price is way too strong there. I'm definitely calling 3 big blinds without even looking at my whole cards to avoid seeing them and folding.
Okay, well, back to the action now. With that big double up and knockout by the Bob John team, they are now the top dog in this race. On this particular hand, we're not seeing... Well, we do have the pocket eights here from Alejandro.
We haven't raised a 31K out of Pam and Hector.
Okay, and it was Pam. Okay, I'm impressed with that. I'm impressed with that, really, from anyone. But definitely going out on a bit of a limb here, raising with the ace-2 suited from early position and not on the deepest of stacks.
And then Drew Alex electing not to 3-bet and take a flop to hopefully avoid seeing an ace-king or queen and what comes out.
I see what he's thinking there. The raise was under the gun. He said, let's just see what happens on the flop, and maybe we can use position to take it away. But Pam is not allowing that to happen. She says, you got this hand beat. Good luck to you. I'm betting the wad, and mission accomplished.
And we do have a vote in here. In chat, we asked who they had winning this tournament, and FTR. Team FTR. Not sure which team that is.
Help me out here, Kyle. Who's FTR?
We'll figure it out. For the ride, maybe. Let's go for the ride. Maybe that's Cupcake. Cupcake has a lot of driving.
Here's what's going on. We have a number of players, I think, that have been wearing a shirt. I think it's called. I think it's For the River Poker or For the Rail. Anyway, I'll have to take a look at the shirts again. So it's a team involving some of those guys. These are friends of Andrew. So the Drew Alex team, but there are a couple of teams that are supporting that group. So it could be the Drew Alex team, but it might be another team entirely.
Well, shout out to Drew for bringing all these guys. We appreciate it here at Georgetown Poker Club.
Yes, very much, absolutely.
Not many holdings here. We'll see what we end up with. Looks like Pam and Hector sitting with the best hand out of the big blind, and it's quickly approaching them. Hijack has raised with the 8-6. I like it. That is a great raise, and applying pressure to these blinds, saying, do you have something you can play with?
And you get a better hand to fold. And again, a couple of teams, I'm interested in all the teams, but I'm especially interested in the Trentville and the Cupcake and Chaos teams. They are the ones who don't have a lot of tools to work with. Need to find a spot here pretty darn soon, if they can.
And the vote was for FTR, which was Phil. The team with Phil on it is Team FTR.
Got it. Yeah, and it's I think it's For the River. Not For the River. Fear the River Poker League. I apologize. It had something to do with the river.
I like the Dilly Dilly. Not sure I like the Steelers this year. You and I often talk about fantasy football.
We do from time to time, yes.
Give everyone your one must-draft player this year in redraft.
I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit out of the loop on the fantasy football right now. I know that's not the answer that Kyle wanted to hear. Now you're talking redraft. Are you talking keeper league here?
No, just one player that you have to draft if you're this year going into a redraft league.
Now, is this if you have the number one pick, you mean, or
just one player you have to find a way to get on your team?
Player you have to find a way to get on your team. With apologies to Saquon Barkley, not him.
Agreed.
Also, side note, this is much I do know about football. And I know you're not going to like this, but given the choice, I think I'm going to go ahead and sport the terrible towel over a certain team that plays out of Foxborough. Sorry, I had to say it.
All right, we've got a few more supporters coming in for Team Phil. Everyone on the Fear the River team is they're very supportive of each other. That's a good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look at the stack size. They're out of seat 2 now. Did we see some serious stacking going on over there now?
14.
I'm going to duck out and get some water real quick, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in a flash.
243.5.
You're good, Jake.
We've all got our own code words on when we got to go to the bathroom, huh, guys? No shame. And that was a quick one.
And I'm back. Told you I'd be back in a flash.
I thought you bluffed us. I just called and lost some chips, me and the
I
audience.
never bluff people. Come on, I never bluff, Kyle. You know that.
Well, you said you're going to get water, and I raised, and you showed your hand, and I immediately regret my decision. Hope I was deep at least. Some good hands here.
Yeah, we have a couple people with Juan's favorite, King 10.
Folds to the small blind, and we've got a raise to 35K.
Not that I dislike the fold with King 10 suited. I didn't see the exact stack size, but it's a tight fold. It's a very situationally specific fold.
And if the action continues to be this snug, we may have a situation where these blinds catch up to these stacks, and no one is particularly deep.
Very good point. Very good point.
And a great flop. Both players improve, and we may have those fireworks in the city limits right now.
I'm not entirely sure if I see this quite the same way. Obviously, both players have connected. I think King 10's liking this a little bit more than Ace Jack, though.
Definitely in position, which is valuable to any hand.
The card that's going to be really, assuming he flats, and he does, if the ace peels on the river. I mean, nothing revolutionary or particularly insightful there, but let's see. Okay, no, pretty much a total. In fact, a total break here.
There's a song, Because I'm a Believer, but
Right.
John apparently is not listening to that song today. I do apologize for my poor karaoke, though.
Focus on the poker, but I'm still thinking about the player that you got to get on your fantasy football team.
And my karaoke, probably. Your
Oh,
ears
no,
might
no.
be ringing a little bit.
Oh, no. You're fine. You're fine. The joke was a little lame. The karaoke wasn't too bad.
And John does, in fact, have the check mark here. He has the best hand if he stays in. Now, will Drew and Alex force him out? What sizing will he go with into 150K?
60K, it's kind of what
Too small.
Kind of what I expected. I don't think it's going to work, though.
Yeah, it's got to be about 100% of the pot here if you want to get through. You're going to need some decent sizing, especially against an experienced player like John.
Uh-huh. Well, it's going to need to be more than 40% of the pot, that's for sure.
And updated look at the chip counts. Pam and Hector have jumped back in front of Cupcake and Chaos. Martel ×2 holding steady around in the middle, and the others dragging up the rear. We'll see if these things change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more they stay the same.
Mm-hmm. Regarding the football, I don't know if there's like one particular quarterback that you just gotta have. Like, I mean, we're 60, obviously, what happened
I didn't say quarterback.
with Wilson and Maha, but just a process of elimination. I think, ideally, of course, people talk about running backs being the meat and potatoes heart of fantasy football. So all other things being equal, I would try to go with one of those. But again, like I said with Saquon, that you've got injury issues. I was joking earlier with someone about the issues that Christian McCaffrey has had in terms of injuries. So again, you gotta find that one who's going to be just durable, a durable workhorse, but at the same time not too prone to injury.
Now, Paul, I'm going to test your gamble here. We're watching this game. Let's find out how much gamble you have. Can you draft Christian McCaffrey?
I say you can draft him, but if he's available with my number one pick, I don't think he's the guy I go for.
Okay, and back to the action. We'll see how much gamble we have here. We've got a raise on the button from King Queen from John. A re-raise all in from Ace Deuce correctly out of the small blind, and it gets through.
Nice. It looked like the King Queen was relinquished pretty quickly. I would have at least thought about that. The price wasn't too bad.
We're up to the 10K big blind ante now, so the price of poker is going up.
25K around. Unless I've got the 434K, I gotta say I'm not feeling too comfortable.
I don't see any answers to your trivia question yet about Jennifer Tilly. Guys, name a movie with Jennifer Tilly in it. We'll go ahead and give you the win. Just name any movie with Jennifer Tilly. We'll fact check you. Go ahead.
I think I pretty much mentioned half a dozen of them earlier.
Well, hints are allowed. Couple of nines on the button. See if it makes it all the way. And it does. An aggressive player gets their payoff when they show some bad hands and then pick up hands like these.
Yeah, but again, it's more a case where you want to get it in a dominating position. Sometimes nines will be your ticket to do that, but not always.
And it gets through the blinds. He'll scoop up and collect a few more chips for their team.
Yeah, this hand was pretty standard. Yeah, did the right thing, so did everybody else.
I'm going to make a prediction that somehow Team Trenton Phil makes a little bit of a run here and comes back a little bit. Look at all those chips. For having not that many chips, they sure got a lot of low denomination chips.
Are you sure you're looking at the right stack, though? Let's make sure. I think what you were looking. You might have been looking at the Alex, the Drew and Alex team. Trenton Phil. I think Trenton Phil we're looking at now. The FTR. Sure, the white FTR.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Well, Andrew and Phil are getting all the votes, but it does look like Drew and Alex is the team I expect to make a little bit of a run to challenge those top seeds.
Well, they've got enough chips to do it, and certainly they have the tool, the gears to do it. I think the question is whether they might be a team that's prone to making a critical just that one critical mistake, just having not necessarily bad play, but just having a play that's justifiable, but bad timing, backfire. That'd be my concern there. And let's see what happens here. They're supposed to get out of this.
There was a raise, a raise in the cutoff from Drew Alex, and it has been 3-bet now to 60K.
Okay, and they get out of it. They do the right thing.
Martell ×2, that team has been, other than that King 5 of diamonds during the switch, has been really snug. So to see that 3-bet kind of sends off an alarm. And that's when your range is pretty snug, your opponent sometimes can get away from these spots like this. Whereas if it was a really aggressive player a lot, maybe that ace-4 thinks about it a little longer and considers. I do have a vote. We've got Chucky's Bride, Anthony Richardson. You are the winner.
Congratulations, Anthony.
You have a free day membership and a free hour on us, on the house, on John, really. So thank you, John.
Yeah, the actual official film title was Bride of Chucky. I think it was the 4th film in the series, but Chucky's Bride, we'll accept. Okay, interesting play from Cupcake and Chaos, just flatting from the cutoff with ace-9 off. Alex, okay, Trent, okay. Whatever happens, Trent Phil here, I expect there's a good chance someone's going to look you up, but this is a good play. You found the spot.
This is less than 6 big blinds.
Let's go. Que sera, sera. Let's go.
And we do have a decision here with ace-9, and no.
Yeah, and I got with the ace-9, I can't say I love the line that ace-9 took here. I think in this situation, if you're not ready to attack it in some manner, you don't necessarily have to bomb here, though I don't dislike that. If you're not going to attack in some manner, just fold.
And to people in the chat, once again, I can see into the room. I can get rid of some of the angst on myself, and I'll let you know you want to stay tuned, because in a little bit we will have an elimination coming. Another team biting the dust. Don't.
Ba-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum.
Yes. See, that's a partner in crime right there. You couldn't leave me. We finish each other's songs.
All right. we're work in progress. You know how it is.
Been real quiet out of Cupcake and Chaos. Not too much Chaos. We've got Chaos on the table now. Perhaps he'll get dealt something here where he can mix it up and get back in the running.
No super premium hands here, although certainly I'm generally a fan of Queen Jack suited.
Now, Martel times 2 has been pretty snug. This is a hand that I personally would be opening with here. We'll see what he elects to do. Raised to 30K, excellent. 3x the big blind, apply some pressure.
Again, you are in a tough spot if you face a 3-bet jam here, but I don't think that's going to happen. And it doesn't.
And in tournaments, sometimes you just got to realize that these are going to be the strongest hands. It wasn't the highest high card present, but it was probably the strongest hand present this hand, and he correctly applies pressure with it, and it works.
And I will say again, Queen Jack suited. Some people talk about Queen Jack being a problem hand, but especially if it's suited, it flops pretty well. You know, you have that hand with position, it plays pretty well post flop. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That pot, I was just going to say, moves Team Martel times 2 up into the second position now, then making a run.
Okay. And again, one thing I will say is that since the blinds and antes have increased relatively rapidly, a lot of the more deep stack post-flop, metagame decisions, if we're going to talk about that really happened earlier. Now, at this juncture, we're not going to see that until the stacks consolidate. And if people are really just afraid to be the next guy out, we may not see, in fact, a lot of that. This may just be people are just being a little careful, in which case it may just be a case of, who hangs in there as far as these blinds and antes go up with everyone, or rather nobody on much of a deep stack.
And I often talk about applying pressure. I would have liked to have seen a raise out of the King 4 spades, but I'm actually okay with the limp and taking the position with the suited king versus them. So I'm okay.
I don't hate it.
Jack 9, moving from open-ender to the turn, moves into first place with the Jack.
I'm a little surprised that the Jack 9 didn't take a shot at. I don't hate the check, but I'm a little surprised Jack 9 didn't take a shot here.
Leading out into 3 players with an ace on board and a pre-flop raiser, perhaps he was going for a check raise or with the open-ender, or maybe trying to play it careful, as we've seen most teams do so far.
Yeah, no one wants to go out next. But, again, nobody raised pre-flop, so there's a decent chance. And it's not just because we can see the cards. There's a decent shot in this situation that no one has an ace. Maybe from the guy who limped, but as fate would have it, they don't have that.
And Anthony forgot what we were explaining was the prize for the trivia, so it is actually a free hour here at Georgetown Poker Club to come play cash and free daily membership. You can use that free daily membership to come play in one of these tournaments as well. We have these bracelet events, I believe, once every month.
Noticing Jennifer Abad saying Alex Drew taking this down. If she's who I think she is, she's not entirely objective, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she's wrong.
We welcome all types of cheerleaders in here.
Indeed we do.
Quick reminder, guys, we are located on Williams Drive in Georgetown, Texas. Come up here and play sometime. The cash games are very live, very good action. One visit, you'll be impressed. You'll go tell all your friends.
Yeah, and everybody's friendly here. You'll have a good time. Except for Hector. Just kidding, Hector. We love you.
And we will be seeing a switch, hopefully, soon, and getting Hector back on the table. So he was starting to apply a little bit of pressure. There was the limp with the Queen 10 of diamonds.
Pam's done her fair share of applying pressure, too. Give credit where credit's due. Now, we have a limp here from Bob John. Again, not surprising. I don't hate a raise. But given the stack that you have here, you've got enough chips where you certainly can go ahead and peel and just see what happens.
Well, what threw this whole hand off was this limp under the gun. I personally am folding a7 offsuit under the gun. It kind of raised some alarms to John.
I didn't. No, good. I did not even see that. I thought Bob and John were the first ones to come in here. That is my fault. And I could not agree with you more regarding the a7. It's definitely a situation where, in my opinion, if you're not attacking, just find a better spot.
And Preston, also known as the King of Chaos, has placed a bet with the King-Queen open-ended and got the rest of the hands to run. It was a great bet. I like it.
I think I like it too. You just got to kind of, ask yourself, just kind of feel it out, say, am I up against the 10 other? Granted, barring 10-8 or 10-9, you got legitimate outs. But you do have to, think about the 10 a little bit. Or, there's certainly nothing wrong with asking the question and then, hopefully you don't get played back at. Or if you do, then you can reevaluate.
But don't always assume that they got it.
No. A rooster's not always in the hen house. That is very true.
There's only 4 10s in that deck, and you see 2 of them face up on the table. We're running out of 10s.
Yes, that said, it was a multi-weight pot. I think we had 4 runners go into it. So there's a chance it's out there.
Very valid, but definitely worth 25K bet. I believe was the sizing. So 2.5 big blinds to find out.
If the bet can get if that bet sizing works, then yeah, why not try?
Not very many holdings. I'd sure like to see 7 deuce come through here with the.
Well, we have an ace. We do have an ace queen here. We do have an ace queen.
Well, the 7 deuce gets out of the way. Would like to see under the gun raise, of course.
I'm not going to vouch for anything with 7 deuce. If we're going to cash game with a prop game on, that's one thing, but that's not the situation we have here.
Yes, if we're playing 7 deuce under the gun, we might as well double down on that 12.
Yeah, nothing to report here. Pretty standard. Good play from Bob and John.
Holding on to that chip lead, maneuvering through, letting the other stacks kind of even up in the middle there, and even Trent and Phil have picked up a little bit of ground, it looks like. Mm-hmm. Now at almost 10 big blinds.
I'm just taking a look at the numbers. Okay, we are at 6, 12, 12. I need it.
Less than 10 now again.
Well, let's watch Trent, but more importantly, it's 30K a round. We've got just over 3 rounds of blinds nannies. This is the team that has the bullseye on them, so to speak. But again, with the blinds nannies being this way, no one's really super healthy right now.
And kind of sometimes when you're playing a tournament, it feels like there's this unspoken collusion that everyone's picking on the small stack, right? Everyone's trying to get that guy out there.
Yes and no. And I say that because, again, if it were a case where we had one team that, is it Trent and Phil, that has, 3 rounds of chips, and everyone else has, say, at least 15 rounds of blinds nannies, then I couldn't agree with you more. However, again, no one's super healthy. I mean, we have a stack, Drew and Alex, for example. I mean, they're not all that much far ahead of the short stack. So when you take that into consideration, I don't necessarily feel that's what's going to... To an extent, no one wants to be the next guy out, so they like to see that team, pawn off their case money. But, again, the blinds nannies are putting a lot of pressure on the stacks. You cannot wait forever.
Raise out of the cutoff with ace-jack, it gets through, and we move on to the next hand. I don't know if you guys, this microphone's really good. I don't know if it's picking up the grumbling coming from my stomach. We've had a guest appearance from my stomach the last 3 minutes, grumbling, I'm hungry. John, let's go to the Sizzler after the show.
Or simmer down.
No sirloin stockade will do, though. He ought to treat us, right?
Why not? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Don't half it there. Don't back me up, partner in crime. Come on, really sell it.
All right, back to the action here. Ace Queen seems to be getting dealt a lot. I mean, while we've been on this stream, we haven't seen too many of the super premium hands. We saw Queens once, we saw Kings once, we saw Jacks once, but we've been seeing a lot of Ace Queen. Maybe you guys have too.
I'm a big fan of that 10-9 suited, like I said before, and we've got it here facing a bet. We've had a raise on the button.
But it's on the shortest stack.
I'm getting it in. Look how many big blinds we have. There we go.
They're not
quoting for just the call, though.
They're not quote unquote getting it in. And again, I honestly don't hate a fold here if you want to, hang on to your case money for that spot. However, if I'm playing it, again, I understand different schools of thought on this, but if I'm playing it, I'm probably doing exactly what they do. Okay, here we go.
We got the flop that will.
Yeah, both sides are saying let's go, and here we go.
We'll see who's faster. We're off to the races.
And again, if you can find spots earlier to go ahead and ship and try to get people
diamond.
to fold, just straight flush draw.
Nope, not
wrong out. Good game.
As you saw at the top, the outs were revealed on the screen. You saw a whole bunch of kings and eights. We did pick up backdoor diamonds, but didn't materialize.
No. And again, I wasn't really watching this team maybe as closely as you were. And I played with 1 or 2 of them last night, and really nice guys. like I said, if you can find spots earlier where you can go ahead and ship and maybe get blinds and antes to fold, then I recommend that. But at the same time, maybe they just didn't have the cards. I wasn't watching this team maybe as closely as I should have. What I will say is, again, I'd be interested to hear different schools of thought on this from you guys out there. Given the situation, I think I like the way they played the 10-9 suited. Just didn't quite work out for them.
And a few GGs in the chat as well. Moving on now down to 5 teams. Only 3 make the money, so the pressure is kind of turning up, and the smallest stack now sitting at around 15 big blinds.
What is the smallest stack right now?
169K at a 12K big blind and ante.
Okay, is this the Drew?
It looks like...
No, it's not the Drew team. This is Cupcake and Chaos. Although there are a lot, it looks like we got several teams that are right there. We got kind of the haves and the have-nots, although no one's really super healthy. We got a couple teams in the 300K range, and then we got several other teams that are scored a scraping 200K.
Which is under 20 big blinds at this point, so not in the cooker yet, but approaching it.
Well, but more importantly, again, remember mind, 30K around. And so really, once you get down to about 5, in my opinion, the 5 rounds of blinds and antes, you're basically on that one bullet. So these teams, they're pretty close to it. But again, you do have the dynamic of no one wants to be the next guy out, and when that's the case, you may not necessarily have to just bomb with all your chips to get, to pick up blinds and antes. You might be able to go with 2.4x, 2.2x, maybe even the min bet, and it still might get through. And
good on Bob not bombing right here up against Hector's straight flush draw. Definitely would have got looked back up if he made the play there.
Indeed, although he had 8-3 off. I guess no one raised pre-flop there. Now, Kyle, and I apologize to viewers if I asked this already. How often do you play these tag team tournaments? Do you play these at all?
I do not play these tag team tournaments, but what are your thoughts on them?
It's been a long time since I've played one of them. I have, but it's been a long time. I'm generally a do-it-yourselfer.
I agree. I have trust issues.
It depends. Well, it depends who you get. I mean, there are certain people I can trust. I mean, it's not like the bit in Superman where Lex Luthor says, "It's not that I don't trust you. It's that I don't trust you." No, it's not like that. But again, what you have to do is you have to find someone where your styles, even if they aren't exact, that they at least complement each other or that they overlap. You need to find that. You need to find a partner. And more often than not, I think you're going to find a partner where maybe you aren't a very good match. And so I think finding someone that is a good match, especially if it's a situation where you have to switch mid-hand, you just got to be on, if not the exact same wavelength, similar wavelengths, so that you guys work together and can get the job done.
Try operating from the position of being number 1 and trying to figure out who number 2 even is.
Indeed.
And a King 7 present this hand in the big blind. They are the smallest stack.
I will say this. This one's suited. That helps out a little bit, and they are in the big blind, so maybe
barely over 10 big blinds.
Well, I was saying maybe they'll be able to see a free flop, in which case, I'm starting to like the King 7 suited a little bit more. Not nearly as much as you like it, Kyle, of course, but they go ahead and do call what is effectively a min raise here.
In actually horrible shape, a 3-1 dog.
Yeah, but again, most of the time I would call here too. The only question here is stack size. You are getting a little bit shallow, but folding King 7 suited to a min raise, it's really nitty. So I might there's a good chance I'd call here too.
And Martel with the backdoor spades, the front door gut shot, and the best hand bets and takes it down. King 7 can't muster up the and probably good for them not to make a play.
Yep. Again, not a perfect flop with your King Jack. However, definitely have the best of it against King 7 suited, and worst case scenario, barring something crazy, you're not up the creek. You got your overs, you got a clear straight draw, you have another backdoor straight draw. You mentioned the backdoor flush draw. If we're gonna grade the flop, that flop's at least a B-.
Another shout out to Juan. Juan really sticking and powering it out. He's been doing these buttons for a long time. We appreciate you, Juan.
Very much. Thank you, Juan. Thank you so much.
And JQ, thanks for just standing behind him and supervising it for like 10 seconds. Shout out to you too.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Hector. He's apparently, I've mentioned this before, but once again, he's preparing for a nuclear attack. So if we have a mushroom cloud and fallout, he's ready to go. The rest of us, not so much.
And we touched on the experience of Bob and John, but Drew, definitely some experience playing poker as well. A long-time player, very experienced. So that team represented well as well.
Yes. We definitely have some players here with some chops. Although what I will say though that I have played against the players that you've mentioned. I've played against them more in cash as opposed to tournaments. So I haven't, really had as much first-hand experience seeing what they do in tournaments. That said, at least as far as Bob and John are concerned, I certainly am aware of how they've done in various tournaments. Times when they've, maybe near missed bubble, but then also times where they've, gotten over that bubble to cash, as well as times where they've pretty much gone the distance.
Teamwork to the top. Teamwork to the top.
And we have another round of cards coming out.
But certainly Bob and John, they know how to make deep runs in tournaments.
Cupcake and Chaos down to 10 big blinds, but sitting only with 8-3 offsuit. The deck not rewarding them for their patience thus far, and we did have a line change.
Mm-hmm. Cupcake and Chaos, hang in there. Just be a little more patient. You'll find a better spot than this one.
Neither guy wants to be the guy to get it in.
Okay, I'm looking at blinds. We're up to 7, 14, 14. Okay, at least this isn't too much of an increase from the last level. We were at 30K round, now we're at 35K round, so a 20% increase. That's what we want to see in terms of the I'm not a big fan of when blinds go from like 244 to 488. That's too big a jump. You need an intermediary level, in my opinion. But the 20% jump, this is fine.
Well, we don't have all day as well.
No, we don't. That's true. That's a fair statement.
Things shut down in Georgetown a little early. You know what I'm saying?
The poker shouldn't.
Well, we welcome you out to harbor that late night poker play right here at Georgetown Poker Club. Feel free to come by. Games do often run late.
Yes, I do, especially on Saturdays. Thank you for pointing that out, Kyle. We got Juan's favorite, the old King 10. This time Bob and John are the ones that will be sporting the King 10.
Drew and Alex place a raise under the gun with the
I don't want
offsuit.
I don't want to offend anyone, so you'll have to ask Juan what King 10 is known as.
I will go ahead and say it.
Okay, go ahead.
It is often, Jack 10 suited is often referred to as Asian aces, and King 10 is referred to as Mexican aces.
Yes, that is correct.
I guess I win something for the trivia question number 2.
Okay. We were talking about Drew and Alex, not being afraid to be a little aggressive. We have now again we're shorthanded, but still raising with the ace-7 suited.
And wham!
And boom, this. I don't think Bob will get too out of line with King 10, but I think he's going to be. Yeah, he decides to fold, but I think there's part of him that's thinking, he might even think there's an outside chance that his King High is good, but just given the player, he doesn't necessarily need a hand to c-bet there. You can c-bet. When I say c-bet, I mean continuation bet. However, it's just not the flop you signed up for. Sometimes you just got to tip your hat, and if the guy's making this play with Jack-9 suited, he's making this play with Jack-9 suited.
And I'm channeling my inner John. I'm talking in the chat, and twice now I've had a typo. John, the king of typos. I'm channeling my inner you right now in the chat.
Hector, still ready for a nuclear attack?
Hector, the best dressed and poker ensemble of everyone. He definitely wins that award. I'm liking the style.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I like our own John Montgomery's World Series of Poker shirt. I think he looks pretty good too. And I like Drew and his crew. Supporting the Fear is it the Fear of the River Club? Fear
of the River.
Okay, I like that too. But yeah, I think best dressed. I'm going to say Hector, and honorable mention to our very own illustrious John Montgomery.
And a raise on the button with 5-4 offsuit gets all in shoved on from the 9-9 of Drew and Alex.
Yeah, I think, this is given the player, Hector, shorthanded, I think you just got to say if Hector happens to have, jacks or queens here, he happens to have jacks or queens. Let's go. I got 9s. If you can beat this hand, good luck to you.
And the correct decision is rewarded with a quick fold from Hector, and we move on to the next hand. You can see here we went to Showdown Tag Team. You can see John and Bob seeing the most rivers and turning their hands up.
Well, I think the stat that really that jumps off the page to me, Pam Hector, 0%. They're winning without Showdown, and this I gotta tell you, this doesn't surprise me at all, especially with Hector on that team.
Great insight into that team right there. And we'll move on to the next hand.
I appreciate the compliment. I don't know about great insight, but maybe decent. I appreciate the compliment, but it's just Hector likes to take pots down without showdown if he can. Now, he will still occasionally show up with the goods, but this is the way that he likes to play the game if he can. He likes to apply pressure when he finds openings, spots, and take things down uncontested.
Marginal holdings around the table again. Nothing standing out.
Yeah, the Jack 7 suited's pretty. He certainly can attack here. I think he probably will.
Most certainly.
But
reaching?
Is it a super premium hand? No, it's not. But I definitely like this play.
Puts in a raise to 33K. Remember, we're at a 14K big blind, so barely over a min click.
Well, we're kind of looking at it. I guess what are we looking at? 2.3x maybe. Yeah.
And me personally, I'm a big defender out of the big blind, especially when we see these small sizings. I like to take flops and defend out of the big blind. You've got to be at a defending range or percentage of about close to at least 50%, wouldn't you say?
To a point. I don't know if to a point. Again, the problem here is the stacks are just so shallow given the blind sizes. So could people be defending a little bit more? Maybe, but not much. It's not much more. It's just the problem is the stack. If everyone had 15 to 25 rounds of blind stand, I could not agree with you more, Kyle. But that's not the case right now. This is more of a tournament with some defending, but it's more a case of stay out or attack.
Well, that's the way they're playing it. But personally, coming from my perspective, I'm a little more aggressive and also want to see flops because the only way to get spots against people is.
Well, here's a difference. This is a different situation here. Notice we've got a hand that plays pretty well post flop in the 10-6 and in the 10-6 of diamonds, and also it's not a big raise pre-flop. This is the kind of situation where you need to defend.
And neither player technically improves other than a gut shot. They're staring at each other's card. They've switched now. Mm-hmm. Ooh, and a pair does come out here for one of the players. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the other one's the one betting.
Yeah, he's gonna go ahead and try to take this down with just the gut shot. What did Bob and John do here? I mean, they didn't fold, obviously.
We'll wait as the tally
gets did. That's a really nice raise. That's a really nice raise.
A pair and a draw still, betting on the come, semi-bluff.
But it's a really nice... many players would have just called and saw what happened on the river. That's a really nice raise from Bob right there. Give him a lot of credit. That's a really good play.
The experience shot shines through. Whoa, am I finding new tongue twisters?
Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't realize that was possible. And with that, Bob and John are now in the Chipley with 463K. If they weren't already, they might have been.
Holding steady. Drew and Alex look like they've accumulated the most chips, though. They have like the low denomination chips.
They've got an absolutely gorgeous stack in terms of color variation.
And back with the king-queen for Bob. Martel holding the ace-8 in the small blind. We'll see what Bob and John do under the gun. They elect to limp. A very snug tournament so far.
Is that what they've done?
Oh, it's still on him. Okay,
yeah.
He hasn't acted. It's 14K to call it, not 14K called. Okay. Mm-hmm. We have a raise, so I do like that raise.
Yeah, and again, it's not a case where it's like you're under the gun nine-handed in a ring game. We're a bit short-handed. King, queen, offsuit. Good chance, a decent chance it's the best hand of the table, or it's very unlikely to get screwed over. Not that it can't happen, it can, but and it flops well, So I like
and
the
as
play.
Paul and I debated about the defending just a moment ago, we see that's not the case again. As you see, there's not being a lot of defending, so be aggressive. People are not defending.
Sure, why not? I mean, if you have the chips available to make those plays, sure. Now, granted, he did it with a bit of a hand here, but I'll be curious to see if now that they do have the largest stack, if they go ahead and just put a little pressure on the accelerator and maybe try to steal some blinds and antes. And 10-8 suited is a hand. Actually, Pam. Oh wow, this is an interesting situation.
And it looks like Rob's looking for a count.
Because here's the thing. You don't really love the spot with your 10-8 suited. However, the hand, it flops well. You know that you're not going to be completely screwed over. Pocket tens aside, and this is a chance to eliminate. I'll go ahead and say it. A somewhat dangerous player.
And under 10 big blinds as well.
Exactly.
With yourself already a big blind and a
well, let's take a look at the price here. Okay, 147K in the pots, 105 to call, so you're getting a little bit better than 4 to 3. The price isn't that great. That's the problem here. Hector's got enough chips to get this through.
But he also probably believes he's capable of raising with a 5-4 offsuit like we just saw him do a minute ago. So is he thinking, might I be also good here?
Yeah, but there is a difference between, just going for a standard raise with a 5-4 off and going and bombing with a 5. Now, granted...
It looks like a fold coming.
I think so, too. I think what's going on here, I don't think Bob thinks it's 5-4. I think if he had to guess what Hector's got, it's going to be something like ace-3 off. That's his best guess. It's something like that. I think it's one of these things where, even though Bob and John have the big stack here, I think it's one of these things where if they had, more rounds of blinds and antes, if they were further ahead in the field, I think they'd go ahead and maybe take a shot. But again, even with 470K, you're still looking at, not quite 14 rounds? You still have to be a little careful. I mean, you want to try to take him out, but you don't want to double him up either. I think at the end of the day, he really wanted to go ahead and stick the chips in with the 10-8 suited and go to war, but it's just not quite worth the risk.
I like the fold. I think I'm probably at about a 30% calling.
I do too. I don't like folding, but it's the best among two really not so great options. It's the best option given your options.
I find some calls, I think, from time to time there, but I think majority of the time I'm laying down.
I want either a bigger stack given the blinds and antes, or a better price, or preferably both. Anyway, back to this hand. And the Martell team has top pair with a pretty good kicker here, and of course the backdoor straight draws.
And we did have a raise pre-flop.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I don't know is how much the players at the table are actually looking at our live stream. This I don't know.
I've seen Preston in the chat with the eyes emoji, so I know that Preston is at least taking a look in.
Okay. I think Brian has requested some change. Is that what's going on?
It does look like we found the banker. And Phil's also in the chat replying to some of his fans. So definitely a few players keeping tabs on the action in the room.
Good stuff.
Now, we had a tease a minute ago. As I keep referencing, I'm kind of peeking into the room, and I saw someone not in their seat for quite a little bit of time, and I thought, oh man, did we have an elimination? But that player's team is still in right now as I peek in there, so I was definitely mistaken.
Back to the poker action, pretty standard here. The Drew Alex team, they've got, at least for right now, a pretty healthy stack. They've got an ace, blind-to-blind situation. The effective stack here is the 10-9, which is under 100K. Yeah, this is a pretty standard all-in. Unless you pick up a tell, that's a pretty standard all-in there. Go ahead and put them to the test for all their chips. Worst chance to probably going to get some blinds and antes. You go if you go to war, you've got a hand with some fighting power, and if you lose, you're not going to hurt too bad. This is pretty standard.
And a quick plug on how Phil and Drew actually came together. They were having some emotional issues with just so many rivers hitting against them that eventually they started a support group called Fear the River. And as the co-founders of that, they have now joined forces in everything they do.
May the force be with them.
As we see here, Cupcake and Chaos need to find something to do here. They are under 5 big blinds.
Yeah, and more importantly, less than 2 rounds of blinds and antes. Time's running out.
So we'll keep you guys with the short stack watch, knowing who the next guy everyone's looking at, like, hey, bud, about that time yet? We'll keep that updated for you.
What was the size of the stack in 4th place? Did you see? I think it's Pam and Hector with 154K. Yeah. Okay.
Which is also just 10 big blinds.
Okay.
60.
Curious to see what happens here because Pam and Hector obviously have a real hand. Okay. Ace-4 gets out of the way. I think that's they can probably find a better spot. And then boom, here we go. This time I think Bob and I was expecting them to get stubborn and call. Have they done that? They did. They did. Okay.
And
Better
we have
pro-
a player at risk.
Better price this time, but we'll see what happens. Good spot for at least pre-flop for Pam
high
Hector.
flop?
No, bunch. Is that a bunch of diamonds? No, it's
It is
no,
a 10
no.
gut shot to a 10.
Yeah, there were only 3 diamonds. Sorry, the colors were a little faded here.
Which was
Bob,
a draw.
Yeah, Bob and John had a lot of outs going to the river, but no dice. Pam and Hector, nice double up.
And puts them in a much, much safer place as far as the stack sizes.
Yeah. I think this is just one of those. I mean, folding King Jack 5-handed, I think it's... I don't hate it. Might be just a little nitty here, and certainly once you've committed that raise, you're priced in against pretty much anything. I think even Ace King there.
And have stolen the chip lead with this pot as well.
Yes.
356K to their 296.
We're going to have several stacks now that are effectively tied for the lead. You know, again, no one is super healthy at this juncture.
And the graphics team, brutal, keeping it on the screen. How much longer do they have to look at it? Make it in. Get the next hand going. Just sit here with the cooler.
And again, I've said this before. I'll say it again just in terms of following the game flow. Kyle has maybe been glancing across the way from time to time to see maybe who's in, who's out. I'm trying to just stay focused on my little, flat screen monitor here, which has things on the delay. So I really don't have the insights into who's alive, 30 minutes from now and who doesn't. Kyle might.
I'm basically watching the whole season, but 3/4 way, Googling what happens at the end.
Right. On the subject of Cliff Notes, no, I like Cliff Notes too. Certainly for the Scarlet Letter. Just kidding. I read them. No, don't worry, Paula Beard. I read the whole novel too.
Great Expectations and Gone with the Wind are pretty large themselves. Correct?
Haven't read either of those. Haven't read either of those novels. Definitely seen Gone with the Wind. Been a while. Great Expectations. I gotta be honest. I think the only adaptation I've seen start to finish is the 1997-98 one with Ethan Hawke and Gwyneth Paltrow and Anne Bancroft. Heck, Robert De Niro's in there too. Yeah, actually, Robert De Niro just said that he really liked Taylor Swift's music. Look it up. See if I'm wrong on that. Okay, back to the action.
We've got a Battle of the Blinds. It's folded over to Pam.
Okay.
She likes to just limp.
I don't hate it, but against this player, don't be surprised if he pops you with a wide range, and that's exactly what's happened here.
But also does happen to be ahead this time as well. As he would probably expect from a limp out of the small blind to him.
Or at least not be up the creek. I mean, you could very well, if I had to guess, again, there could be a wide range here, but without knowing what do I think Pam, has here, maybe something like a King 5 off. That'd be, kind of what it would feel like. And what she has is something that's kind of similar to that. But as fate would have it, Bob and John did have the best hand there.
They define a good bet in poker as one that makes a better hand fold or a weaker hand call.
Yep.
So when you're raising with Queen 10 to a limp there, I think you're accomplishing that. You're getting some weaker hands to call you, and you're also getting some King Deuces, King X's to go ahead and lay down.
Exactly. I think plan A there is just go ahead and get the fold. I think that was what Bob and John wanted there. But if you get called, Queen 10 flops reasonably well.
And we've got comments coming in the chat about how comfortable the player's sitting right here with his arm rested on the next chair right there. And we had to highlight right when he went for the itch.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
chat.
Cupcake and Chaos is shoved here, and I gotta tell you, I don't hate the play. I would have preferred it finding a spot earlier. But I prefer this rather than just getting whittled away. The problem is the timing here is less than optimal.
All the aces dealt out as we got the short stack and the smallest ace ripping with ace deuce and 2 ace kings present. Great for this to get going.
Yeah, this will be interesting. At least, I will say with all the aces, especially with, 2 people sharing the king, but then all the aces out, that also, if I'm not mistaken, helps out the ace deuce a little bit. So as fate would have it, it's not as dire as one might initially hypothesize. Still, this isn't exactly the spot that Cupcake and Chaos wanted to pick, but we will see what happens. This isn't maybe as bad as it initially looked.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say this is, in fact, Schitt's Creek.
We'll see what happens, though. Again, with them sharing a king, it's not maybe quite as bad. It's not the spot they wanted, but it may not be.
It
the end of the
could be
world.
worse.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But the outlook is not great.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. It's not great. That's a fair statement.
And we have a board.
Some splits here.
Yep, we got the chop outs going.
Can we get a jack or 8 on the river? Let's see what happens. No, ace king, unnecessary improvement.
The king and it ends it.
Cupcake and Chaos. Brian, Preston, you play well, but
valid run.
But sorry, on your bike.
I mean, they accomplished the chip lead at one, but they started kind of small and went to the chip lead. A lot of good things to take away from their performance.
Absolutely.
But nice needle.
No, I had to say it once.
And John stacking the chips, making his partner proud. No one wants to let their partner down, but everyone likes to let their partner see him stacking chips.
I want to see, I guess we're down to 4 teams now. I want to see the current chip counts so we can see.
But we're on the bubble. This is now where we might see the play snug up because is there going to be an aggressive player come out and start moving around here, or is the things going to really snug up? Hopefully not seeing a bunch of limps.
I imagine that things are, if I had to guess, I think we're going to see things snug up a little bit in the sense that everyone's sort of in the same boat chip-wise.
Will Pam raise under the gun here with Jack 10? Is this a call or a raise coming?
She decides to call. If you wanted to throw it away, that wouldn't be a horrendous play. But she decides to call.
I'm fine with all options, fold, raise, and call with this
I think that's where I am on it too.
The fact that it's offsuit, I'm probably teetering more towards the fold or raise than I am the call.
Yeah,
I'm a little less calling, but
some of this I think is stack size dependent. Interesting that Martel just decided to check with the ace-9. If you can find a bomb, as fate would have it, this would have been a really good spot. But maybe you're a little concerned that Pam has decided to limp in with a monster.
And Pam rewarded for playing this hand as she reaches top pair with a guy who has top pair and a gut shot as a little chance to get back even.
And Martel's got a gut shot as well. I think an unlikely will continue. He doesn't, or the Martel team doesn't. Let's see what Pam does from here on out.
She's facing a 20K bet.
Okay.
Neither
player really going to love this river too much.
Don't think there's too many kings. Just the king X's of diamonds, maybe that could still be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly Pam would, prefer it over a 4, obviously.
Well, first act goes to Drew, and and Alex, and they made the check.
I think this went check. That's what I'm seeing.
And Pam will be delighted and relaxed to see that her, in fact, Jack 10 is good. Showed the chip stacks here again. The big blind is 14K, so that 207K is now on the short stack watch and around a little under 15 big blinds.
And again, 35K around. We got a couple teams in the 400s, a couple teams in the low 200s. The teams in the low 200s, again, no one's super duper healthy here, but the teams in the low 200s, they are feeling the pinch, but maybe not quite to the same extent as, when there's been that one team that just had the bullseye on them and they've had, only a handful of big blinds or just like 2 rounds of blinds and antes. That's not the case here. We've got teams that have, 6 to 7 rounds of blinds and antes. You've got either, I would say, a huge bullet or maybe even a reshove. You cannot wait forever, but you can wait a while to find that spot. You really can.
Yeah, there's a little room here to wait, and they actually did have to start the hand almost 16 big blinds, actually.
Right.
Actually, just over it.
I guess what I would say is, this is a good analogy. It's the 10th hour, not the 11th hour. I guess that's a good way to put it.
It's the witching hour when wins become losses and losses become wins.
You had to say it. You had to say it. Well, right now the hometown teams seem to be the ones that are in pole position, so to speak. Although no one is running away with this, we could certainly see any one of these 4 teams come out on top. And yeah, if you can survive one more elimination, bunk,
Prediction
you will get a nice little paycheck.
Does the home team win? Does John and Bob, do they pull it out right now?
But
Go
again,
out on a limb, all the way.
But again, I said the home teams. Yeah, Pam and Hector are right there with them.
But who are you predicting gets the win? Is the big stack, are you going to go with the safe pick, or are you going to take one of these underdogs?
Chip-wise, I got to tell you, I mean, Pam and Hector are right there with Bob and John. But when you put everything together, the experience, again, and now, in all fairness, they had a fantastic break with that King-Queen. Still, where we are at this juncture, you consider chip stacks, you consider experience. If I have to, I'm not betting the farm, but if I have to put my chips on one horse, I'm putting my chips on Robert Rowe and John Montgomery.
And a great fold right now from them to not get involved with that Queen 10 facing the raise under the gun with 2 jacks.
Yeah, again, different situation, attacking a small blind limp with your Queen 10 than, defending a raise with your Queen 10. Slightly different situation. Some players would have defended there. Again, you're talking about, do you defend there? I think if they had Queen 10 suited, they may very well have defended there. But I think right now, given where they are, capital preservation is the most important thing. They definitely are a team that is going to be wanting to be on the offense rather than the defense. They're going to be either hopefully attacking or getting out of the way.
And Drew and Alex now slipping to 243K. They're seeing the other 2 stacks kind of get up there in the 400Ks. They need to start kind of thinking about what they're going to do.
And then which team you're talking about? Drew and Alex here?
Drew and Alex have got to start contending. I believe they've got to find some hands to at least see flops.
Or alternatively, I mean, again, we're not necessarily going to just want to be, just ladder up. But again, they're in a position, though, where
there's a much smaller stack if we're trying to get rid of that bubble.
Well, they don't have a prohibitive lead on that, but I guess what I'm saying is they're in a stack size such that they may just want to not get out of line too much, really preserve that really big bullet, It's kind of one of these things where if you got a lot of chips, you can do some dancing. If you're, really on the morphine drip, you're looking for just that one spot. Where they are, maybe you just kind of want to just stick with the status quo unless you really need to get involved. But with the ace-8 suited from the small blind, I fully expect they will be getting involved here.
I think we want to be active, and as you see now, an active player just sat down as we have the return of Hector. Did sound like a movie. We'll see if he can be the evil empire and collect some of these chips here.
Wow, I'm shocked here. The ace, they folded. Did I see that correctly? They folded ace-8 suited, small blind to big. Did I see that correctly?
And we see the pre-flop raise percentage here on the screen. Drew and Alex taking flops, like I referenced. They're the highest raising here.
Well, or at least attacking pre-flop. Yeah. All other things being equal, I do like that. I'm surprised. Maybe they just saw something that wasn't there. I'm surprised that they passed the ace-8 suited. That, I don't want to influence things too much, but that tells me they may be looking to ladder up. Because generally, ace-8 suited, small blind to big blind, not a fold.
And king 4 suited under the gun, and Bob's going to stay out the way. We've got a big stack. Let these guys fight for it right now.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is, on the other hand, I will say it's a tag team format. I very rarely play these. Maybe there's something I'm overlooking.
And Robert, a really good golfer. We'll see if his poker game can keep up with it.
Right. No, he's no slouch on the fault. What's his handicap? Do you know what his handicap is?
I don't know, but I know he shoots down around near where you would need to shoot to get on the pro circuit. I think he's high 60s to low 70s, maybe.
That's impressive. You'll never see me do that except on a mini golf course. I'm a pretty damn good mini golfer, but I putt well. The rest of it, not so much. Side note, also, since I was talking about Jennifer Tilly earlier, the name I believe on the birth certificate, at least according to Wikipedia, who's never wrong about anything, is Chan. Tilly, I believe, was her mother's maiden name. And lo and behold, they've got pocket queens. You got to attack here. They're going hidey-ho here. They're, as Norman Chad would say, they're going for the wad.
And he pushed those chips in. And here's you see where I saw a player move away from the table for a minute and thought that they might have been eliminated.
Okay. Oh, what you were referring to earlier. Okay, gotcha. Let's see, 193K. Are we still at 35K? Well, we may be at 816.16, so 40K around. You're at about 5. I think my preference there is shove. I wouldn't have had any major objection to maybe a min raise, but again, it is the riskier play, the safer play is to do what they did.
And with most people starting to shove around 10 big blinds, they were above the 10 big blinds, so the shove kind of looks more like they don't want to call it that big sizing.
Right. Certainly a hand like King Jack off would definitely, or there's a good chance a hand like King Jack off would make the same play.
And it is now folded to the button with King Queen for Pam and Hector. Hector, known to raise with 5-4 offsuit earlier, what will he do with King Queen?
Well, they raise. And they raise to 60K. Let's see, where are we on blinds and antes right now?
Well, we've got a pair here for
this,
Bob. Let's see what he does. Does he just call, or do we see a 3-bet here?
Right. Oh, we do have a 3-bet.
160. I like that sizing.
Well, I'm wondering, again, if the blinds and antes are, because, 60K relative to the blinds and antes, that might be, I think that's pretty big relative to the blinds and antes right now, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe Bob and John picked up on this, said Hector doesn't want action, he wants to get this through. Our sixes are good.
You're playing against the other biggest stack with you, the closest one to you. You're trying to increase the severity of the pot in their eyes when they're reading the situation, like, hey, this guy's really bumping the pot up, I'm out of position, right? No, he's in position. He's on the button facing the 2 6s. So another reason Bob might have upped the size is he's going to have to play out of position with 2 6s.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I don't think Bob wants to do this post flop. I think he wants to I think he's just taking an opinion on it right here, right now. But yeah, anyway, so it's 8-16-16. So Hector's raise was nearly 4 big blinds. Bob looked at this and said, this guy doesn't have pocket queens here. He would have raised smaller, and he's absolutely right. Good read, good play by Bob.
Well, Bob stacking up the compliments from Paul. I'm going to have to put a table together over here and put a little counter and at least see who gets the most compliments. Paul, not known to give out compliments, quite quiet at the poker table.
Come on. Yes, I'm quiet at the poker table, but I'm not playing this table, so I can. I'm handing them out like I'm handing out like candy. We'll go with that until I come with a better analogy.
Oh, and man, later in the show, the players are going to go on break, and you're going to be stuck talking with me for about 10 minutes nonstop without poker going on. Prepare yourself. Get the earplugs out. Get them ready.
Rest, 2 words, rest and break.
There may be a back pile going on over there at Georgetown. Point. There is multiple restrooms here and very clean facilities, I might add.
I was about to mention that, yeah. I think we'll be all right. Back to the action. Blind on blind situation here.
And my dream and love hand here in the big blind. Facing only a limp.
I'll go ahead and jump in on this. I know I like 10-9 suited too. It's more just it becomes it's a hand that you absolutely just love to see flops with in cash games. It's just more a case of situations, context, and stack sizes in a turn, especially now we're down to 4-handed and someone's not going to get paid.
And look at this sizing, 64K is the raise.
Again. We have sort of an issue with like what we had with Hector, but slightly different in the sense that, 1, it's blind on blind, and 2, he's out of position. So the fact that he's out of position, you can't necessarily just automatically take a hand like Ace-King out of his range. Not that he likely has that, but I would say it's more likely for him to have a hand like the Jacks or the Ace-Queen than it was for Hector. Now, sure enough, he didn't have a hand here. In fact, he had a hand that was worse than Hector's, but the guy in the big blind, he can't know that. It's hard for the big blind to contend here without a premium holding.
And it was Bartel times 2 that had the 10-9 of clubs.
Right. And again, unless things... Well, actually, the chip leadership might have changed a little bit now such that Bob and John are in a cleared number 1, and the Hector and Pam team now might be... They're probably still in second, but they might be a little closer to the other two. No, actually, it's pretty much a two-way tie between Pam, Hector, and Drew Ox. Yeah, for the second position. Boy. Now, for starters, let me just say I do not dislike this raise from Drew and Alex. This is perfectly fine. They're just not picking the right time. It's just an issue of timing. The play's good, just bad timing. And this is the right 3-bet jam from Pam and Hector.
What was the sizing on the original raise?
45, so I think 2.5x the big. So pretty standard raise.
293K here and a strong holding. I might be looking for action and trying to make sure I'm sizing at a call.
I have a differing perspective. I think just given the stack sizes, given the math, I think the 3-bet jam with the jacks, especially, they're one of the best starting hands in the game, but they still can be a notoriously difficult hand to play post flop, especially out of position. I think 3-bet jamming is absolutely the right play. If the stacks were deeper, then I would like maybe a smaller 3-bet. Or even, in certain situations a call, especially earlier in the tournament. But, four-handed, stacks are pretty shallow, even if you got 300K to start the hand. Just go ahead and hidey-ho.
I'm a bit more of a creative player, and I like to maybe have a lot of flats there, too, with the jacks, and try to set someone up to flop a top pair, and that was one of those situations where it would have been perfect. If you can catch an opponent with 10-7, and they can flop a top pair versus you, you're probably cleaning up the rest of it.
That's true, but what happens if the flop comes ace-king-6?
Then they're in a position where if they have the lead and they're willing to bet into me with their hand there, then they might get through me.
Right.
They might.
Right.
But in this part of the tournament, I'm trying to find ways to get chips so I can contend for the chip lead, and you got to take flops. And if it's by being cheaper by flatting in some spots or by sizing to get action, I like to try to go get the chips and not always shut down the pot.
And I'm on board with that, provided that we're not facing too prohibitively large raises and we have hands that play well post flop. I think I can get on board with that. But with your premium holdings like jacks, let's just go ahead and defend the hand and make ourselves tough to knock out. And go ahead and get those blinds and antes and the raise uncontested. Okay, what do we have going on? We got some people who are deciding not to show their hands to the camera.
And just so chat gets an idea of what's going on here, Paul is known to be a lot more snug on his style of poker than I am known to be a very aggressive player that is often betting constantly. I have a very high VPIP, and Paul tends to try to maintain a little bit snugger image.
Yes and no. I would say, though, that I don't want to give too much away. I would say, though, when, I've talked about, going ahead and making some ships when you're on 5 or 6 rounds of blinds and just going hidey-ho, even with something, that isn't super premium, if it makes sense based on, your position, your read, stack sizes, and whatnot. So I would,
which is a tournament skill for sure,
right.
Versus the big blind where you're playing deep with so many big blinds.
Right. I guess what I would say is many players, it depends on context and all, but many players that might, go ahead and just kind of see what happens on the flop, see what happens on the turn, and so on and so forth early on in the tournament. But later on in the tournament, when the stacks, they get that juncture, they've got the paycheck. Now it's just a question of, how many spots do they go, or do they go the distance? If there's not tons of play, and if the blind standings are putting pressure on the players like they are now, they may go ahead and go with a slightly different gear shift, which is just kind of stay out. Oh, find a spot, bam.
And that seems to be what John and Bob are going with, and they have the most chips. But me, as one of these other players, I am going to try to contend with that by taking more flops. I subscribe to the active short stack.
And I agree. Philosophy. I agree with the active short stack, but I agree with it in terms of being the one who's attacking and not doing so much of the defending.
And I concur with that wholeheartedly. I definitely don't want to be defending, but I definitely want to be taking flops and getting chances to flop big versus someone who feels they have the range advantage.
And I like that, provided that you have enough chips to work with. I think when you're down to about 4 or 5 rounds, I just don't know if there's enough leeway.
Well, anyway, I'm not ever going to be down to 5 big blinds myself.
I said 5 rounds, not 5 big blinds. There is a big difference. Like 5 rounds right now.
You're
might
including
be
the small and the ante.
Yeah, 5 rounds right now might be like 14 big blinds. Yeah. Okay, but buckle up on.
I don't personally calculate rounds. I calculate big blinds.
Fair
and for me, I'm never going to be.
Buckle up here, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a couple of big hands in a short-handed game. Queens are a big hand in a ring game, but the nines are a pretty big hand in a short-handed game too. This is going to be really interesting. Okay. Now John just called Notice a couple things here. One, now it is a button raise, but notice a couple things. One, it's a smaller raise size, and two, it's Pam as opposed to Hector.
And we got the flop that can lead to some more action for sure.
Absolutely.
Here. John, once again, was not listening to that song I'm a Believer earlier, so we've seen him not believe thus far. We'll see what he goes with this hand.
And this is going to be very read dependent, but I will say that these two players know each other pretty well. Oh boy. He's bet everything. Pam's got to call, and
You
she
can't
does.
fold here.
Yeah, Pam's
Yes.
got to call, and she does.
Bad spot, John.
And she's gonna really like what she sees, barring
Yes,
a suck out.
2 outs. 2 and no back doors, 2 outs only. As you see at the top of the screen, those 2 black nines. And a boat already.
Wow.
And quads!
Okay.
High, still
Yeah,
good.
exactly. True. Quad threes with a queen. If you had a king or an ace, you fold the winner.
Pam finds a way to improve even.
Nice job, Pam. There you go. You deserve it.
The look on her face looks like, oh my gosh, what happened here? You know, did I lose because of that river? Nope, queen's still good. I'm good.
Now, regarding, I do want to comment on John's flop. First of all, I really like the call pre-flop from John. Maybe he suspected something was up. Regarding the bomb on the flop, I would need to go back and look and see exactly how large the pot was. I get where he's going with this. It's a good flop for the hand. You know, you hate to like do something smaller and then boom, a jack peels off on the turn. I get it. I'm just wondering, though, whether it made sense given the size of the pot up to that point.
And the range of the player you're facing. You said they have a lot of
Exactly.
experience together.
Exactly.
And he knows that Pam is typically more snug once again. Like we're talking about players that get active and make a lot of plays. We'll see her do it a little bit because you have to in a tournament. But I think she's a lot more snug. And so with that range, that's kind of a hard play to just bomb into without more information.
On the flip side, sometimes you just have to go with your read. Maybe in this situation, he just said, you know what? I think she's got ace-king or ace-queen. I think if I attack her pre-flop, she's just going to get stubborn with it. Let's get a safe flop before we do anything with this. He gets the safe flop. He says, I'm in the driving seat against ace-king or ace-queen. I can't let her suck out. Let's end matters here. And he went with his read, and unfortunately, he was just wrong.
And I think that's where some more differing philosophies come in. I like to be betting with the hand for sure. I'm betting with 2 nines there at a huge frequency. I don't like all in. I like to continue to get information and play with someone. And that was a good opportunity for him to just make a bet and get information from her.
We're pretty much on the same page here. If I were in his shoes, how do I approach the hand in this situation, this dynamic? I also probably just call pre-flop, and then on the flop, I go with a much smaller bet or I check. And just play in flow, so to speak.
And I like the smaller bet because when she plays back with a raise, like she'll do probably most of the time, he's going to know that she's not going to be making this raise after he's bet with ace-king and ace-queen very often. She will some of the time, but it's a percentage-based thing where I think most of the time she's actually going to have him beat if she finds the raise.
Outside chance that maybe the queens decides to just flat to a smaller bet there, but she's more likely to raise there and just go ahead and get stubborn with it. Interesting blind on blind situation we have here. Ace-9 went ahead and got stubborn with it. That's the right play. You're just probably priced in against most holdings. And as fate would have it, you have the best hand. Granted, you're still vulnerable, but you have the best hand. You put your you put your foot down. You make your stand, and a nice double up.
And 220K is what was shoved, I believe, in front of him to him, and that being also only those a little bit over 10 big blinds like we talked about now.
Well, Pam and Hector obviously are actually in good shape now with the stack they've got. The other stacks we're looking about like 95, 150, and 250. I'm just running some math here to just kind of see what the strategy is for these stacks going forward. So we got, I think, our Floridians, I guess Alex and I'm not if they're both from Florida, but Alex and Drew. Why do I keep forgetting his name? Alex and Drew. I just should say A&A, the Pocket Aces team. American Airlines. I should just remember it that way. Anyway, Alex and Drew, they got 95K. Bob and John, who were my horse until the nines versus queen hand, they've got about 150, 165, and then I guess the team that just doubled up. I keep forgetting their Martell. They've got about 250K. Pam and Hector can, they can sit back somewhat. They're in a pretty good spot. They're barring a disaster.
They're in a great spot.
Barring a disaster.
No math necessary.
Yeah,
they're not in the back seat. They're not in the passenger seat. What seat are they in?
They're in the driver's seat.
They're in the driver's seat.
Barring a disaster, they're going to at least get over the hump in cash. But I want to think about this dynamic and how I'm going to approach it if I'm on the 95, the 150, and the 250. Think about those, see if there are any differences in the approaches.
Well, we're looking at the stack sizes now, and I see under 10 big blinds.
But more, again, I look at it in rounds.
And,
but sure,
and
we
the ace here, we're shoving every time.
Absolutely, you have to. You may not love it, but you have to. This is good. Whatever happens, good shove by Drew and Alex. It's the right play.
Now, how often are you calling out of the big blind here with the queen nine is the question.
Okay. Let's chance to knock out a team that certainly has a lot of gears. Not nearly as many gears given how short the stacks are. What you getting? 77 to call, 140k total. Not quite 2-1. It's really close. Different schools of thought. It's really close. Let me put it this way. If she had folded Queen Jack suited, I wouldn't have liked that. Queen 9 off, it's really close. What do you think?
I'm looking at around 5 big blinds being shoved at me, and I already told you I'm calling blind on 3 big blinds. I'm more inclined to call and put players at risk and use my chips. To me, you change positions in a tournament based on the number of big blinds you have.
Yep.
They still have chips to work with and have a chance to win a pot.
Exactly.
I'm fine with the fold there a lot of the time, though, too. Queen 9 offsuit doesn't play that well.
Slightly, it doesn't have the most showdown value. Slightly better price. I definitely call with the Queen 9 off. It's more just a case that you're not quite getting 2-1, but at the same time, it is a chance to eliminate a somewhat dangerous team. So it's really close in my opinion. I mean,
King 9 I was a snap call.
Right. I agree with that. Queen 9 off. It's one of those where I want to find the call if I can, but I get the fold. I guess that's where I am.
And I believe we reached that break that I had referenced earlier. Now for the players. I'm going to duck my head out and ask for a drink real quick, but Paul will be here with you for 1 second.
Not really too much to talk about here now that we have a lull in the action. Not sure what the next blinds and antes will be. We were at, 9, 18, 18. So what are we going to look at? Maybe 10, 20, 20? I'm hoping that's what the next round is, but I could be wrong. And the more play that we have, I think the better. And of course, we have our illustrious Juan Rodriguez chipping up the stacks. Maybe we'll see some more of the larger denomination chips and therefore smaller total chips in play. Do keep those comments, questions coming. We love to hear from you guys. But thinking ahead, let's assume that it's kind of, 10, 20, 20. I guess the 95K stack will have maybe 2 rounds to work with. Even the 250K, we're looking at kind of 5 rounds. They're all in the proverbial red zone, as Harrington likes to talk about it. Again, it's, no one's going to be, even the 750K stack is going to just be extremely healthy relative to the blinds and antes, but clearly everything's relative here, and they're in pole position. Pam and Hector are, barring a disaster, let me get some wood to knock on. There we go. They're going to at least get into the money, and they're certainly the favorites at this point to take it down. One other thing I will say, I mentioned a 95 stack. No, not anymore. They now have roughly 150 as well, since they were able to get that ace 3 through versus the queen 9. And so, again, they still don't have a lot to work with, but they're a little healthier than they were before they made that shove, and just gives them just a little more time before they have to find another spot.
I actually like dealing this. I like dealing these live a lot because it keeps my mind moving. Being able to see all this in the game.
Yeah, and I'm going to step out here just for a sec, get some water. Kyle will be with you to entertain you guys or something like that. What I would like to have, though, is a response to Kyle's question on player that you got to have in fantasy football. I don't have a definitive answer to that. Dalvin Cook is someone I always love, but clearly, he's had some minor injury issues. Not to the same extent as C-Mac, obviously, or Saquon. And again, I'm definitely. You might have seen that one commercial for Saquon where he says, this is going to be the greatest comeback. I'm definitely pulling for Saquon. I mean, I am pulling from. I'm just saying objectively, looking at what we've seen. I think he's still a little fragile. I really want to see him do what he did, the season where he just went off. I'm really pulling for Saquon, but we just haven't seen that yet.
Franchise has been around for 50, 60 years and never had a Super Bowl. So the Vikings need to do something. Now, I've stepped out for a second. I'm sure Paul divulged his whole poker strategy while I was out, but I was gone. So type it in the chat so I could see it too, guys. Don't make me watch this later. Tell me what all insight did he give you while I was gone. I happened to notice while I was out there that John and Bob are actually playing tag team cash right now as well. Looks like they have a stack on the cash table, and whoever's in the tournament is playing while the other one's in cash and vice versa. So that's pretty interesting to see. We also have a lot of people in the chat. We've got some shots fired. Played better, John Montgomery, from Jennifer Abad. Shots fired, John. What are you going to do about that? She's got to think about being nice to John now, because John will come in here and block you. Don't rile the feathers up. But good troll. Nice needle.
How you been, bro? How you been?
Now, once again, Paul and I are getting to offer y'all two different perspectives on this tournament strategy here. Paul obviously trying to ladder up and be a little more snug, while I'm in here trying to go out and get the chips. It's a differing matter of opinion, but both ways are ways to get there. There's a bunch of ways to skin a cat. And so to say that one of us is right and one of us wrong would not be correct. There's different ways to get there. Sometimes one of us will be more right than the other, just depending on the situations that come up in that particular tournament. But neither one is really wrong, and some great insight from my buddy Paul that has been in here. Been really pleased to have him subbing for John today, while John is inconvenienced by trying to make $3,000. Thank you for coming by, Paul.
I don't know if you know. No, you didn't know what he got in there. I don't think. Michael Jennings. I don't know if you know.
While we've got this downtime, go ahead, let's light this chat up. Once again, let us know who you're rooting for in the chat. Jennifer Abad saying John can't block me. All right, challenge accepted. Just kidding. She says they love each other.
When we're not playing for money, yeah, we put money.
I believe Jennifer is the wife of Drew. Am I correct there, Jennifer?
Oh, sorry.
I need the charger for this. It's down over there. It's under there. You can buy it?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Thank you. You rock.
Those of you who don't know, that was the voice of Juan. Juan, we've been giving him shout-outs all day. You heard him just give us one. But we didn't have to do much for ours. He's out there working hard. Third, and maybe final shout-out to Juan. We have an extra guest in the booth right now, but his favorite hand is Queen Jack, so I don't know how much expert opinion he'll have to offer.
If anybody could guess that, free hour.
Oh, come on. I like Queen Jack.
All right, free hour was offered for whoever can guess whose favorite hand is Queen Jack. He just announced it, free hour.
So yeah, we are looking for a person here. We are looking for a person, a male living person.
I don't know who Richie Boyd is, but I promise we're going to do a good job as soon as we can. We're working on it.
Okay, yeah, it's Taylor Boyd that says we need Richie Boyd commenting in here, so I don't think Taylor Boyd's entirely objective. It doesn't necessarily mean he's wrong.
Once again.
Just on a side note, I got to tell you, Kyle, I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I hope this has been fun for the listeners out there. We do appreciate your comments on social media, or at least, hopefully it's not a snooze fest for it.
We'll work on getting better and drumming up the action for you guys. We're doing our best in here. It is kind of a sauna in here as well.
A little bit warm, but it's a lot better than it is outdoors, that's for sure.
Record-breaking temperatures, 100 every day this week?
Pretty much. Commenting on the poker, one thing I just did want to say regarding the teams that have been eliminated, I would just say that by and large, I think the poker that we've seen has all in all been pretty good. It's been very good, in fact, for the most part, from all the teams, including the ones that have been eliminated. The one thing I would say is just, and again, sometimes, you make that all-in shove, you sometimes can end up sticking your fork in an electrical socket, and you end up running into a bigger hand. But sometimes in a tournament, in order to live, sometimes you have to be willing to die. So I think what I would say is, again, I didn't see what happened earlier, but just think back, maybe was there a spot where you could have pulled the trigger and didn't? On the flip side, you remember what happened in that one hand where there was, I believe, was it the 7-4, the king-queen, and the ace-10? And ace-10 made a really good call-off with the top pair and, just a decent kicker. They were definitely out in front big time for the side pot against king-queen, which needed a runner of some kind. And unfortunately, it came in. And then, boom, now you are super crippled. Nothing you can do there.
Yeah. And the chat coming alive like I asked them to during this break that we got going on here, and I appreciate you guys getting really active in here. Jennifer Abad, I think I recall her playing on one of the streams here that I was commentating on, and I remember her saying it was her first time playing PLO, and then later talking and saying, oh, but there was this one time. So a known bluffer in our chat, what do we do?
Is bluff the right word to use there?
Semi-bluff?
Yeah, I think that's fine. A storyteller, I think. Yeah, a storyteller. Let's go with that. Although I can get on board with semi-bluffing. I believe she didn't do too bad in that PLO game, if I recall correctly.
Well, a lot of hype for her in the chat and her poker play as well. And as I remember, she was kicking butt and taking names, and that is legal within the city limits of Georgetown.
Yes, it is.
The hype continues for Jennifer. Jennifer, come up here and dust off your skills and come play more often. You're welcome in Georgetown.
Definitely. We love having you here, Jennifer.
Ready to get back from this break now. How long are these breaks? Are we doing limitless color ups or what? Let's get going. I see us back out through the window.
Yeah, but I gotta tell you, if they don't have a long break, how are they gonna get their Chinese poker time in?
Well, we can be entertained right now by someone throwing the cut card up and down and catching a little wind from the fan that's going off in the corner.
As long as they're catching wind and not breaking it.
Agreed. We have more votes for other people. Drew getting all the love in here. Everyone's rooting for Drew and Alex right now. Hopefully y'all's energy channels in here and we'll get it going for these guys.
Just a side note, since I mentioned it earlier, in case you're wondering what the Flaccati rug was, I was talking about, that we wouldn't see too many doormats, Afghan rugs, Flaccati rugs, and so on and so forth. I think most people know what an Afghan is. A Flaccati rug, I believe it's a quality product. It's been made, I think, in Greece for many, many years. What would happen is on the old Press Your Luck, it was a prize in the first round. It's probably worth about $350. But whenever someone would win it, they would hit a whammy pretty much the next spin or two. So nobody walked away with the Flaccati rug. I think Peter Tamarkin, the host of the show, once quipped, I think the whammy now has 46 Flaccati rugs in his garage, something like that. So, you could get hit with that whammy and then come back in the second round and walk away with, trip to Puerto Vallarta, maybe a jet ski, maybe a motorcycle, as well as $10,000 in cash. But no one ever walked away with a Flaccati rug. Whammy always took that back.
Some more fresh insight from the mind of Paul.
Right.
We do have to fill space, guys.
We are on break. Bear with us.
That's a good time probably to talk about where some more of these guys met each other. And I'm still brainstorming as I've made all of these up so far off my top of my head. So give me a little while.
You made all these up off? These really didn't happen? None of these happened?
I mean, close. They're slight stretches.
Okay, so you're like Albert Finney in Big Fish, where he tells the story. There's a little bit of truth, but if you just tell the basic facts, the story lacks the spice, the pizzazz, the joie de vivre. Is that what we have going on here?
Great movie, man.
Yeah.
Great reference. Great movie. We don't even need to expound upon this at all. That was just
right.
enough. That was great. Big Fish, great movie.
I hit a pitch there. Awesome. Still a couple by Tim Burton that I need to see, but certainly I like that one very much. I don't think there's
Creative story.
Yeah, I don't think there's a film I've seen by Tim Burton that I thought was a bad film. Even his debut, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, that's still, even to this day, very watchable.
I was about to reference the hand that is referred to as Pee Wee Herman, but I think
That's
just going all the way there.
That's too much.
Use your imagination, guys.
Yeah. That's yeah. We want to try to keep this PG rated. I think with that, you're pushing it a little bit.
It involves a jack.
Yeah.
It involves a king.
Yes. Okay. Incidentally, side note, since you mentioned King Jack, there was a side note. I was playing somewhere last night where someone was cursing the Rambling Rose, and then they folded it. I think we got into the river. There was a Jack on board, but it was not it was not a good river for King Jack of Diamonds. But I knew it as soon as they said it, I'm like, yeah, I know what you got. You got to fold, buddy.
And on screen now, you can see the guy we've been shouting out nonstop. Look at Juan, not only working the tablet, but out here doing the color ups, working as the floor alongside JQ.
Yeah, both Juan and JQ have been really great today, but especially Juan. He is a jack of all trades, and he has been really busy and diligent to the whole club today. So, people on there, if you can, definitely give a shout out to Juan.
Taylor Boyd redeeming himself, giving us compliments now.
All right, thank you, Taylor. We love you too. But I'm sure that let's see. Now, was it Richie that plugged Taylor, or was it Taylor that plugged Richie? I'm sure the boys could do fantastic commentary too. But we appreciate the compliments, Richie and Taylor Boyd.
Richie Valens? O'Donna? I'll spare you the karaoke.
I don't know if that's the best. I don't know if that's the best song for. Why are we talking about Richie Valens and O'Donna? It's
Ba Ba Bamba. That's La La Bamba guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. In fact, I've started, whenever we've had a bomb pot in the cash game, I oftentimes now will bust out the Richie Valens La Bamba from the movie. I will do that. Yeah.
You're definitely a movie referencing guy, for sure. What's your favorite scene in Rounders?
Favorite scene in Rounders? Let me think about that. Certainly the opening scene, I think, merits some consideration. But I will say, though, that one, your heart sort of sinks. So I don't know if that's my favorite scene. I sort of like the conversation, though, that Kanish has with Mike before he gets in, where he says, "I hope you're holding all that." Let me back up. He asks him what he's doing. He says, "Well, I'm holding this for you," and he says, "You should be. I hope you're not putting all that glimmer in play." And he's like, "I can beat the game. I can beat the game. Maybe you can beat the game, but you can beat such and such at the Chesterfield." And mentions a couple other games before saying I understand. So I like that conversation that they have. Okay, now that we're talking about that, okay, now that we've talked about it, here are my favorite scenes in Rounders. Now, again, I like the John Turturro character as Kanish. He might be the character I might identify with the most in the film, possibly. But my favorite scenes in the film got to be the conversation with Martin Landau as the law professor. Both of those scenes. The one in the bar where they're having gin, and he speaks about how it was that he went from being on the track to become a rebbe to then a rabbi. Both terms are not exactly interchangeable, but similar. I think one's Hasidic, one's more mainstream. It goes from being on the rebbe rabbi minister track to becoming a lawyer. When he has that, and then the conversation when Mikey is desperate for some money to help out Worm and himself.
And thank you for not going to the classical caught a hanger or women are the rake moment. So very good that you were original, at least in your opinion. And look, we're about to get the action back going.
Yes, we are.
Now, while we were away
in
the chat, there was that shot fired, as we said, from Jennifer, and you see Georgetown Poker Club in the chat has responded, just running bad. Jennifer, that is not us defending him. John has somehow hijacked our chat and is out there replying as Georgetown Poker Club. Log into your own stuff, John.
Well, I will say that They did catch a big break on the king-queen hand, in all fairness, but there may have been some other spots where they didn't run so well. And certainly the nines versus queens, is that a bit of a cooler? Yeah, it's a bit of a cooler.
Four-handed, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Pair, over a medium-sized pair, really.
But it's really a cooler once that flop comes out. It's a situation where, whether you like it or not with your nines, you're almost certainly going to be losing some chips.
And you're hoping to avoid it.
Back to the action here, Drew Alex. Yeah, this is really good play. Shipping with the ace-queen.
10 big blinds. A little less now that the blinds have gone up, I would assume.
Yeah. We'll see what the blinds
would have jumped to 10, 20, 20.
And that's what I was hoping the jump would be. But at any rate, okay, 7.5 big blinds or 3 rounds. This is the kind of hand you want to see. And if you lose with it, so be it. This is the right play. This is a good play, the right play.
We've reached that moment that we referenced earlier where the stack sizes have allowed the blinds to catch up to them because of the snug play. So now we don't have that situation. It took a cooler to get a monster pot here where we now have a really large chip stack. And you had predicted that John would get the winner. You changing your prediction after seeing that flop in stack sizes?
No, I think I have told you that just given the chips in play, I think you have to you have to bet on Pam and Hector. But it's not a done deal yet. There's still a lot of volatility. Even Pam and Hector are not prohibitively healthy here. So I think I would be shocked if Pam and Hector do not cross the money line. I would be absolutely shocked. But if I have to choose between Pam and Hector to win this or the field to win this, I think it's probably about 50-50.
Well, we're sure to have a whole bunch of knockouts start happening as the blinds, like I said, have caught up to these stacks and very brutal. Even the biggest stacks don't have that many big blinds now.
Right. Although no one's really, the only stack that's quasi-big is Pam and Hector. Everyone else is really shallow.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the show, but things seem to be wrapping up pretty rapidly.
We'll see what happens, though. What might happen, we may have some consolidation, and then we may have a good heads-up battle where if the consolidation happens quickly enough, we may have a heads-up battle where we actually have some play.
It appears to be an all-in or fold tournament at this point.
I generally agree with that. Anyway, and the players that really needed to pick up hands to ship with, it's happened. Ace Queen, then an Ace Jack suited. Good plays with the hands that you really like to see to make this. I mean, yeah, you'd love to see Pocket Kings, but with these stacks, you really have to see Ace Queen or Ace Jack suited. Oh, Pocket Queens.
We're on the bubble, picking up a hand like this.
Notice what Pam
and fuzzy.
Yeah, but notice what Pam and Hector just did. They folded King 5 suited. I think that's probably a good approach. Why get yourself in trouble? You're in a good spot. You really can just sit back and pick your spots.
With the stack sizes to blinds, absolutely. You let these guys fight for the crumbs right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you can find spots to go and apply pressure. I'm reminded of an old World Poker Tour tournament where Hoyt Corkins was pretty much going all in every hand, much to the chagrin of one Phil Hellmuth Jr. But I think given the dynamic, it may have made a lot of sense. He just had a big chip stack, and he just basically put them to a lot of pressure pretty much every single hand.
I imagine after we have the bubble go out, we'll start seeing them subscribe to that, start maybe raising every hand with the stack sizes.
Yes, good point. But I guess it's and in all fairness, I think when Hoyt did it, they were, now again, people at the final table gotten paid well, but they were down to 3-handed.
Okay, let's go with favorite Amarillo Slim bet that you've heard of. And famous for many prop bets.
This is a subject I really don't know anything about.
Okay.
I know very little. It's more one of these things, it's recognition versus recall. If you were to put some in front of me, I might be able to recognize them and say, oh, yeah, I remember hearing a story about that. But actually recall, which is a more difficult skill, really can't help you there.
You seen the movie Tin Cup with Kevin Costner?
No, I have not. With Kevin Costner and Rene Russo, I have not seen that film.
There is one of his prop bets that is reenacted in that.
Okay.
In that, similarly done. Have to check that out. It's your homework, Paul. Tin Cup now.
All right.
It's better than Bagger Vance.
Okay, and here's an interesting spot here. The bubble factor might be playing into this. Some players might have jammed with the Queen 9 given the stack. He decides to, I think, go for a min raise. And Pam and Hector, I think calling with the 10 is probably the safest option. If you can find a 3-bet jam, that's borderline world class. But that's a really tough play to make, and it's very risky.
50,000.
Because the thing about it is, let's suppose it's unlikely to have aces here, for example. But if they did, would they be bombing or would they be going with the min raise? They probably would be going with the min raise. The fact that they did it's unlikely, but you got to be a little worried about the super premium holdings.
And there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. Like I referenced when you had stepped out, I did give you a compliment on doing a great job, and thank you for subbing for John.
Thank you.
And we're happy to have you here. Hopefully, we'll get you in here again.
My pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
Come on, card, scan it.
Sorry for the silence. We just don't really have anything to say right now. We're just watching Pam fiddle with her chips. Oh, we got some super premium. Well, not super premium. We got some. Well, the Kings are a super premium hand. We got some premium hands here. Buckle up. We're gonna go to war.
I would, unfortunately, probably in Pam and Hector's spot, really be applying a lot of pressure at these stack sizes. I really feel the advantage and willingness to take races right now in wrist chips.
But notice she passed the 5s. I mean, you could get a little ambitious. I suppose you could get a little ambitious if you wanted to. I think I'd fold the 5s there. But... ace jack. This is all ace jack of diamonds. We'll see what happens on the river. Yeah.
Dodges the non-diamond jack.
And again, all the jacks that were left there would have been non-diamond jacks. But yeah, you go from basically on that flop, and especially after that turn, you go from effectively, I mean, there are other ways to get there, but you go from having those 3 outs, ace, to now you just got to fade the 3 outs.
And well played with the 5s by Pam and Hector, getting out of the way, allowing those 2 hands to fight.
Yeah, and again, even if a 5 had come, where we don't want to be results oriented, I think that is the best option. But again, if you wanted to, I think the 5s are just a little something to think about. But again, we've talked about this earlier. It's one of those situations where if you're in really good shape chip wise, okay, maybe if it's not going to really materially affect you, okay, maybe you take a shot there and knock out a couple of people. However, even on the stack that they are, and they are the chip leader, losing 100,
they were under the gun.
Losing 150K there, that's going to materially affect this stack. So I like the fold there with the 5s.
I don't. If it was a limp, I didn't see the pre-flop action. If it was a limp, I'm not sure I like limping with the 5s.
I think she was in the blinds. I think she was in the blinds.
It says she's on the button now, and if they're 4-handed,
well, she probably was on the small. She was on the smaller big blind. She was in the blinds. She was in the blinds.
Well, if they're on the button now, they would have been under the gun last hand, right?
No, if they're on the button now, they would have been in the small blind last hand.
Correct, and she was in the blinds last hand. I was thinking the other way.
Yeah.
I think we're good. Let's see. Give us a percentage.
We have a bunch of rags and ace-10 for Pam and Hector, and they go ahead and raise to what is pretty close to an effective all-in for the other stacks, or for at least some of the other stacks. Nice bet, Pam. We love you.
And don't forget about her tournament that we plugged earlier coming up. Make sure you come out for Pam and help support that tournament. It's posted on the Facebook. Like and follow Georgetown's Facebook. It's under Georgetown Poker Club on Facebook.
Now, I'm curious to see what's happened with Drew and Alex here because, again, I want to say there was a time not long ago when they were sort of on the crumbs after ace-9 doubled through them, but one way or another, it looks like they're back to 350K, so 17.5 big blinds, or alternatively 7 rounds of blinds nannies. That's a really huge bullet, or you could argue that's a reshove stack. So they are back. They are really back firmly in second place, at least for the time being.
A lot of love for Drew in the chat. Like I said, they've been really willed in by the universe to make this run, and I did predict a run by them earlier. They are very experienced and good players as well, so not to constantly say that about John and Robert and sleep on Drew and Alex. And we did get some more love in the chat room. Kim Lamar sends her love and appreciation for our commentating tonight.
Oh,
Shout out to Kim.
Oh, we love you, Kim. Thank you so much. Glad to have you with us.
Kim, just getting back from Vegas, I think, out there having a good time. So congrats on being able to go have all that fun.
For sure. I'm trying to remember. I think she might have been back for a while, but yeah, she definitely went to Vegas pretty recently. Maybe she's been back for a week. Don't hold me to that.
And you see the chip counts, Pam and Hector with 50% of the chips in play while everyone else is fighting to get their market share.
But you'll notice that with the raise of the Jack 9, again, I go ahead and maybe go back and study what happened after between the Ace 9 hand when Ace 9 doubled through Alex and Andrew and now. Okay, you know what? Maybe it was just a case where maybe they just had the Ace Jack suited, and again, I apologize that I'm not on the ball on this. Maybe it was a case where they had the Ace Jack suited and they doubled through someone. That might have
Spot
been what
we've
happened.
seen before. Ooh, Hector doesn't combat this time at all. Just lays down and lets Robert have the walk. Got a little snug here on the bubble, like we talked about. Looks like
Nothing wrong with that. You have half the chips in play, and we've got one stack that is super critically short right now. You don't want to be too much of a farmer, though. You got to be a little bit of a fox. But at the same time, given this particular juncture, it's not a case where it's like a big, huge field and, it's the money bubble where, okay, if you get over the hurdle, you get like $2,000. But if you get to the top, you get 6 or 7 figures. It's not like that here.
But think about a shove from that spot. Is Rob and John going to be willing to call and risk their tournament life knowing that there is an 85K stack remaining in this field? They're very likely to lay down.
True. Certainly, Pam and Hector should play this hand. We got Queen 10 diamonds versus a 3. Certainly, the 3s are a play here. It's only a question of whether you just flat or go ahead and isolate. I might have actually called here with the intention of trying to get some other teams in here to work together to knock out the short stack.
The small stack was in the big blind. Figured they were going to play. Threes hold.
Yeah, actually, the small stack was under. No, the small stack was under the gun. They took the initial action. I do like to shove with Queen 10 suited. The issue here is how do you approach the 3s? That's really the question here.
We have a player eliminated, and we are in the money now. Congrats, everyone remaining.
Yes, and Pam and Hector now currently have 60% of the chips in play. Notice I said a moment ago, I said it's about 50%. Pam, Hector, 50% of the field. And as fate would have it, they had kind of gotten down to about 50% of chips in play. So I think, the way I've been looking at this, I think is pretty close to spot on. I don't want to toot my horn, but pretty close to spot on here. Pam and Hector, it was really unlikely that they were going to be the ones to go on fourth. But even with the chips that they had, they weren't a hammerlock to go the distance, so to speak. It's kind of they're the favorites, but again, if you have to choose between them and the field, everyone else come out. It's kind of close.
If you were to throw a rock in the Georgetown Poker Club, there's a good chance that you would hit Alan, also known as Brutus around here. And he's hopped into our chat right now. We can see who he's rooting for. He's going with the big stack. He said, go Pam. So we've got Alan in here on her side. Way to go, Brutus. Welcome to chat. Kim, we see you rooting for Pam. Also, but saying no, you got to go with John and Bob. Appreciate you being in there and voting. Pull for who you want. No, what's the word? No judgments here.
Yeah, exactly. We just appreciate the support and you guys tuning in. We're having a really good time, and we are so glad that all of you can be a part of it.
I didn't know Kim was a big baseball fan, but she is sure rooting for the home team.
Indeed.
45.
Well, I certainly understand her pulling for Bob and John.
Two great guys in their own right.
Yes, definitely. Okay, now we have a raise from Drew and Alex on the button with the 10-7 suited with action resumed. And this is going to be an interesting three-handed situation. Okay, Pam, Hector decides to play close to the vest and fold the King 5 suited here.
All in.
I figure we would get a rip here, under 10 big blinds, ace 9. We're definitely getting it in here.
I think you kind of have to, whether especially against Drew and Alex. The ace 9 actually favors to be ahead of their range, believe it or not, facing a button raise from either one of these players, actually.
And when we talk about defending, we're talking about defending taking a flop. We're not talking about defending taking calling all ins in these spots right here. So
exactly.
So really in the tank right now is Drew deciding on, with the stack sizes to these blinds, does he want to go ahead and gamble with some suited connectors?
Yeah, let's see what price we're looking at here. Okay.
The suited two gappers go in the muck.
He shows another gear here. 265 and 145 more to call. Again, not quite 2-1. It's one of those where I think you want to, if you can, hang on those 265K chips. You've got a lot more fold equity than if you had lost that flip.
If you guys are having a good time enjoying watching this show, just know that you can participate. Come out to the next Bracelet event. They do these every month. If you win one of them, you qualify for the Tournament of Champions, which they bring all the winners back and play another tournament.
Yes, they do.
All in.
I think if you win, even if win any of these, you get your picture on a wall. Yeah, but these tournaments are a lot of fun.
I don't see any pictures on the wall.
No, the last series, no, there was a. It wasn't a case where you have like one big blow up image of yourself on like a wall of like a
Drew
billions
and
or anything
Alex
like
need
that.
a 10, don't find it.
Oh boy. Whoa, I'm sorry. That was important. Telling this King 5 Ace 5. That's what we got going on here. Okay.
Pure domination, and the board agreed with it.
Yeah, I think the ship here is fine with the King 5 suited, and way to have the heart to call with the Ace 5.
We'll start heads up with Pam and Hector with 80% of the chips in play and only 20% for Bob and John. Need to get something going.
Indeed.
Can they rally?
Indeed. I was hoping for a good heads up battle, but I think in order for that to have happened, I think the stacks the chips needed to be a little closer so that all teams left, in this case 2 teams left, would be able to have a wide variety of plays in the book. But with one team being dominant at this point, now I'll have to take a look again at Bob and John's stack size, but they just may not have all the tools in their toolbox. 245K, 50K around, 12 big blinds. It's really they're still sort of in full.
We're looking for the rip hand right now.
Yeah. Now there are exceptions. I think if Pam and Hector were to theoretically, maybe just min raise from the button, are there some defends that Bob and John can make?
I think that any hand they're defending with, they're also shoving with if they're first act.
And I would say that I think specifically to a min raise, I think there are some defense here, but that's really the exception. Otherwise, I think they're an all in or full mode.
I think in suited 10 or better, they're in no matter what.
Okay. They got a. You don't have to play every. You want to play a lot of hands heads up. You don't have to play every hand. Hector and Pam, they fold a 5-4 off on the button. I think that's a good play. Make it tough for them to double 3. Make them work for every chip they get.
See, I'm subscribing to the other. I want to apply max pressure every time they fold is a huge win for me because it's just leaking chips out of their stack.
I agree. I agree. Definitely apply pressure. But again, maybe apply pressure with at least something to back it up. 5 high, that's not much to back it up. I think I like the fold there as opposed to a call or a jam. Okay, Bob and John should jam.
I don't like a call at all, but I do like some jams there.
No, I don't hate a jam. We're pretty much on the same page here. It's more a case of we don't like call here. It's a question of whether we fold or jam.
And Bob and John rightfully shove the ace here. Like I said, we're looking at there's going to be so many hands that are just going ahead and shoved pre.
Yeah, force Pam and Hector to pick up a hand they didn't hear. Get those crucial blinds and antes.
When it gets heads up in the tournament, this is the point where it's just a dealer workout. You're shuffling, you're dealing out cards, someone bets, no one calls, no flop, and you just put the deck right back down and shuffle again.
Give John some kudos, and when I say John, I mean I forget his last name, but our dealer John, he's a real trooper. Give him some love too, if you can, on social media.
Shout out to John. We are unable to talk in the chat anymore as our tablet or laptop has died that goes to the chat. Apologize. Hope all the love is still going in the chat. We appreciate all the compliments we got on behalf of us. Thanks for sticking around this long with us.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Look boy,
at this.
Here we go.
Catching a couple 10s at the right time. Now here, do you ever get tricky and creative and go smaller and try to ensure getting action?
Well, no, but we're looking at the math here. I want to say what happened here. I could be wrong. I think Pam made it 100K, and now Bob and John go all in for 265 total. And although you're getting a good price, all you have is 10 high. I think this is a situation where, and again, just given the stack sizes, again, not that I dislike what Pam did there, but I think given the stack sizes, I would either bomb with the 10-6 or just throw it away and wait for a better spot.
And definitely an improvement, a rally definitely coming out of Bob and John right now.
Indeed.
Don't go quietly into that good night.
Yeah. Rage against the dying of the night. Yes, thank you, Dylan Thomas. I think though, with the stacks are getting a little closer. I think if we get to the point where we have near parity, it may not be such a shove fest, and we may actually be able to play some poker again. I don't think we're quite there yet, with one team having, I think, a little more than a 2-1 chip lead. Okay, let's see what Bob and John do here with Queen 8 suited. Pretty decent hand in a heads-up game. They just call. They have a stack now where they can do that if they want to, in my opinion. Certainly nothing wrong with the jam here, but if you think you can keep it small, see some cheap flops, maybe use your position and outplay. Not sure what Pam is thinking about here. Okay, maybe she just hadn't seen the action, which wasn't on her yet.
So John has decided that he's got enough chips where he can just put in normal raises now, as opposed to jamming. John tried to get some action here.
Hold on a sec, because I could be wrong here. It looked to me like he just limped, and then Pam folded. Maybe I'm seeing something wrong.
It said raise on screen.
Did it? Okay, because I saw just call 15K. Okay, maybe. Okay, well, if he raised, maybe, and then if he raises, Pam, you got to fold. We're not at Choctaw, and we're not in the ring game. Jack deuce soft, get rid of it.
We don't need a soundboard at this live stream. We've got custom sounds from Paul.
I'm not the Foley artist here. We have a guy named Jeff here, really nice guy. He is the real Foley artist. He can do all sorts of terrific sound effects. Another privilege you get by playing at GPC.
And now we're seeing a situation here where we've got Pam on the button first to act with the King 3 of hearts. She limps here instead of applying pressure, seeing if she can get John to do something. We're maybe not sure, just trying to take a safe flop. And wow, did we get each of them to flop a pair.
Yes. Both people have connected pretty decently here. John can't hate the middle pair with the backdoor draws in a heads-up situation. I don't think you necessarily marry yourself to it, but the fact that Pam did not raise, he may have difficulty putting her on a king. Well, now that she's moved all in, he's got a real decision.
And once again, if you're John and you're thinking about Pam's range, most of the time you're seeing her show up with it, so it's hard to really think that, like, what is she shoving here with? There's no flush draw. Right? If that was the 6 of clubs, you could think there's some ace-queen suited, some ace-10 suited, something in that range.
Side note here, though, the math's a little deceptive. It's not a case where it's 970K and he's costing 345. No. Again, that includes all of her chips. The actual pot size he could win is considerably smaller than that. So the price really isn't as great as the way it's portrayed on the screen. Again, if you're getting nearly 3-1, that's maybe a little bit of a different situation. But no, he's not getting that, and it's important to be aware of that. He put out a bet, tried to define the situation. Situation got defined. There are some players where they might not have a king. Pam, in that situation, she's got worst case scenario. She's got 6-5 suited beat.
And in duking it out, John and Bob put a little dent, but then Pam and Hector collecting a little bit back.
Indeed, and we're not quite getting to that quote unquote parity that I was talking about. It's still kind of a situation where Hector and Pam have 2-1 or 3-1 she'll be. We're at 3-1 right now, and if that's going to be the case, then we're still just not going to be seeing a lot of post flop play. But fortunately, we saw a little bit on that King 3-6-5 suited. And that was kind of fun.
Just sit back and go forward.
And once again, as I referenced, the hands really quick. You get a lot of shuffling from the dealer right now, so John's really getting his workout.
John's fast.
All right, and John really can't get the kind of cards he needs right now to get a stand going.
Let's see if he can cruise down the street in his 6-4.
I have a feeling he's going to be facing some pressure here from Pam.
Yep.
Raise it up. 115,000.
Let's see what she did here.
Pam elects to raise to 115K. Quick fold.
I think a shove would have been fine here, but I can get on board with the 115K as well. I think I prefer both those options over the min raise. If she min raises, John might have the opportunity to go ahead and peel with the 6-4, the speculative 6-4 clubs, and maybe spank a flop. But for now, slight extension of the chip lead for Pam and Hector. Okay, here we go. Yep.
John has found his ace.
Yeah, good play.
Well, Pam has a lot of chips, and she's got some suited cards. They're kind of connected. 2 gappers here.
Yeah, so the 10-7 suited, it's good that she thought about it a little bit. That is a hand that can certainly bust someone. But again, not a very good price. And fortunately, by him, bombing it with, I think, 9 big blinds, you still have the fold equity. That was the right play. Good play by John.
And when you're looking for the hands that you are going to call with, you're going to get a lot of queen 3s, king 4s.
Over and out. Roger that. Good, buddy. Good fold of the 10-4.
So the 10-7 suited is something definitely to consider making a stand with, as it plays well. It can flop well.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. I say play well when it's all in situation. You're not going to play well because there's no more play left to be had. But it's considerably stronger hand than cards that are disconnected from each other.
Yep. Certainly, of course, Negrano's talked about his fondness for the hand. But in that situation, it's a case where you just need a little better price than to call off. It's a hand where it is a perfect textbook of example of a hand where in kind of a shallow heads-up game like we have here, it's a hand you prefer to be shoving with than calling with.
I definitely would agree with that, but when I'm looking for hands to call with, I want ones that can flop well.
Sure. But I think I prefer a hand with maybe just a little bit more showdown value than 10-9, even a really pretty connected 10-7 suited. However, if I'm getting...
Well, let's not act like John is that snug where he's not capable of
Right.
getting out of line with hands that are behind that as well.
Well, I don't know if he's getting out. I don't know how much he's going to be doing with 6 high. I guess
8-7, 9-8. I mean, there's some spots
it's possible.
there where he's...
It's possible, but even like a 9-8, you're not going to be a big favorite over that.
Line change.
Yes, indeed.
These are the 2 we want for the end, I think.
Yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah, you're about to be all in too.
And the over and out is still in this one in the big blind, though, so back-to-back appearances.
At least this one's suited, but yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened there. I guess it didn't matter. Let's just move on.
A lot of times in the playoffs, the 2 best teams don't always get there, or the 2 teams that you really want to see go at it. I feel like at the beginning of the tournament, there was only a few options of people we really wanted to see go at it at the end, and I think we're in for a treat right now.
I agree with that.
75? Yep.
I mean, Preston always makes things really fun. I love Preston, and of course the Florida teams that we've
Drew
had
would have been
that we've had here. I've got a lot of respect for what they're doing, but I'm really happy with this particular heads-up matchup.
And these 2 of the partners going at it, we've got another bit of that thunder and lightning kind of scenario clashing.
A little bit, yes.
And we'll get another round of cards here. With each second that goes on, the blinds start increasing towards the stacks. So if you're the shorter stack team, some movement needs to be made.
Yeah. And, again, you might have to talk to them, but I think these 2 guys really love playing against each other.
Oh, and we've got a situation right now.
Yep, we absolutely do. These are quality hands in a heads-up situation, especially given the stacks.
And we're in.
Now, I'm curious to see what the exact order of operations here was. I think it's a case where, yeah. And, okay, yep, didn't happen. There's your champion.
Hector and Pam have pulled out.
Congratulations to Georgetown Poker Club's own Pam and Hector.
Well, guys, it was a treat to have you guys here. We're going to make you guys stick around for all the post-game pictures and everything like that. On behalf of Paul and I, Paul, you want to say anything to the guys?
I will. One thing I will, first of all, just great job, Pam and Hector, and congratulations also to Bob and John on a job well done. And to everyone who made the final table. I will say, just on the 9s versus Ace-3 hand, I think Hector, if I'm seeing it correctly, just went for maybe the min raise, and he was able to maybe induce a shove, and then he got the money in a really good spot. There are a lot of players, possibly myself included, who would have just bombed with those 9s, and then maybe Ace-3 suited. Ace-3 suited might pass facing a bomb there. There's a chance. So, anyway, I think it was played well by both sides, but especially optimally by Hector. Now, I guess the last thing I would say is just, just listen to what we've been saying and come on out and play. I think you'll have a really good time here, and thank you for joining us on this stream.
Well, I'm going to take that Ace-3 every time, facing anything in those spots. We got to get the chip. See, I love it, Paul. We got to have the two differing perspectives here on a lot of situations.
I think there's more I think there's more overlap than not in our perspective. I think it's just more a case where it's more just in, like, especially when the stacks are deep. I think we're seeing things.
It's good.
It's more a case when the stacks are shallow that maybe we see things a little differently.
I think it's good for TV and good. Hopefully, we got some good ratings. We'll have to check with the what is it, the ECC or the whatever the SEC, whatever it is, not the SEC.
Nielsen's what you're thinking about. Nielsen's sound scan analytics. That's what you're thinking about.
Anyways, tune in next time. Come by for a tournament. We had a great time with you guys. Thanks.